Things are getting worse around here, aren't they?
Too many things are changing here.
Everybody just talks about how afraid they are of dying. Well, I don't think that's the worst thing that can happen to you here.
You can't save them all.
Welcome, everyone, back to Horror with Nadia, discussion on From Season 3, Episode 7, These Fragile Lives. Thank you so much for joining me and the panel, which I'll bring in just shortly. Before we get into it, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and helping me get to 1,000 subs by the end of this year. There will be spoilers for this nothing burger of an episode, so just be warning, if you haven't seen the episode yet, there will be spoilers. So let me bring everybody in, and we'll get started. Yet I just realized this. I can't get StreamYard's layouts figured out very well. Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing today?
Good.
Good. Oh, I feel the energy is low because of this nothing burger of an episode.
I know. I feel like we had more fun talking about Heretic backstage than we're gonna have with Rob.
Well, with this being episode 7 and 3 episodes to go for this season, how's everybody feeling about how episode 7 was? I'm going to let Nikki go first.
Oh, okay.
Sorry to put you on the spot, girl.
I feel like I'm in like a tumultuous relationship because I've been watching From literally since day one. So I remember watching it. I think it was like early 2022 when the show came out, and it's like I teeter between loving it and being obsessed and like just really into it, and then like hating it. I remember when season 2 ended, I literally said I was done with the show. Like I was so frustrated. I said I'm literally done, but obviously I'm not, because I'm back, and I've actually really enjoyed this season. But there's a lot this season that has irked me, and I really couldn't find anything redeeming about this last episode. Even the way it ended with Tilly, like I thought Fatima was going to like just literally bite into her. I didn't know she was going to stab her, but I just kind of felt something was going to happen, especially early in the episode when Tilly was talking about how, you know, death doesn't bother her. She doesn't see it as the end. I was like, oh yeah, Tilly finna die. Like she's okay with that. We're foreshadowing that. And then that cop, Lord Jesus, I was about to throw my TV through a wall. Like that cop irked my nerves so bad. And I don't know if I'm melodramatic. Like I felt like she was in my face. Like I was just so aggravated. And it was so over the top. Like, I really didn't like this episode. And I can't vividly in detail remember everything about the first 2 seasons because I've never rewatched it. But I feel like this was my worst. Like I didn't know backstage you guys said this was like the lowest rated episode. I really feel like this is like my number one, like out of all the seasons that I just really hated this episode.
Yep, lowest rated on IMDb. I think Nick, it was a 5.6.
5.4, which is actually the lowest for the entire series.
Yeah.
I believe it.
What about you, Nick? What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the weakest episode of the entire show, and that's unfortunate to see in the latter half of season 3, right? You know, we're expecting answers, we're expecting some bigger breadcrumbs at this point, and a lot of theories I think kind of have potentially fallen flat based on the end of this episode. But it was a sleeper, and if it wasn't for the event that happens on the end, I think this episode would have been a complete snooze fest, and obviously it kind of was all in all. But I agree with what Nikki says. That cop is just a problem, and I don't think what she did was necessary or correct whatsoever. And no, we'll get into a little bit more, but I would have done the same thing that boy did, to be honest with you. And I'm hoping that these next 3 episodes are redeemable, because the first 2 seasons are and have been a lot better than season 3. I think there's been some good parts so far up to this point, but I just think the writing on this episode was not well thought. Just wasn't thoroughly written. I think like they didn't think about what they were going to do at this point. And I feel like they're dragging things out to the point where you're adding this fluff, you're adding a lot of unnecessary dialogue, unnecessary events play between the different characters, and it's like we don't need any of this stuff. We can definitely continue to move through and answer some of these questions, and that's going to allow people to continue to invest the time into this show, because I know if I speak for everyone here, I know we want to continue to like this show and not it turn out to be some sort of Lost 2.0. But it's definitely feeling that way after this episode, and I hate to say it, but I hope I'm wrong with over the next 3 episodes. But yeah, this is just not good.
I wonder if this would have been better off as an 8-episode season instead of dragging it out to a 10-episode. But Niet, what are your thoughts on it?
So I have a unique perspective on this show because I pretty much watched the first 2 seasons in 1 week, and that was about 2.5 weeks ago, and then watched the first few episodes of season 3. So there was so much forward momentum, even though season 2 was quite disappointing in comparison to the first season. I always felt like there was this forward momentum, and when we get to this episode, it's such a huge contrast between all of the different plot threads, all of the character stuff that was happening, to this, which is just a nothing burger of an episode. Like, we don't learn anything new about any of the characters. All of the mystery and suspense that was building is sort of just hits pause, really. Like you guys, I didn't like the police officer when she was up in Boyd's face. I was like, you better sit your ass down, because you're stepping on my toes in as much as you are Boyd's. And just a lot of the frustration with Fatima as well. Like, I liked some of the stuff that was happening in the 2 previous episodes, but here it just felt a bit stunted, which is quite bizarre, because you're hit with this major revelation about her not actually being pregnant, and that should hit hard, but it doesn't. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that the writing isn't really holding the plot progression up as well as it should. And so, yeah, this was just really disappointing for me. Yeah, I was thinking about rewatching this episode this morning before the podcast, but I didn't want to waste my time.
Yeah, same. I saw it Sunday, and I had no desire to go back and rewatch it. I didn't even have a desire to watch. There's 2 content creators I watched who do pretty good breakdowns of just the episode, not as deep dives as Julie does, just to give. And I just did not care. If this continues the way it is, I don't see a renewal for season 4. If we're not getting any answers, I think the fan base is going to be very upset with it. I've never seen Lost, never went through the heartbreak of that. I know a lot of you have. And I know the ending of it was spoiled for me, that they're in purgatory. But if this is the same, if we're leading into something similar to that, I just wasted like 2.5 seasons of my life on this show. And I'm very upset. I would be very upset about that.
Just a question. Do you think that part of the reason why this episode was so sluggish was because, like, in comparison to season 1, where the creatures were a tangible and real threat that we felt, because every night we'd hear them screaming, we'd hear the town be under constant attack, and now they've almost like disappeared. There isn't that lingering threat above their heads. It almost feels like a bit of a paradise. There's no tension, there's no fear in any of the characters. They've all just settled in.
It's too much of a internal drama between the actual characters instead of getting answers and the threat that's outside. I also heard an interesting theory that maybe the reason why there are night creatures and they only come out at night is the only way to actually escape this is to escape it at night. So they give you even a harder of a challenge to it as well. So that there's a lot of theories going around. I just hope the fan base is not disappointed. Maybe this was, again, just a filler episode. They just didn't know how to move the story forward without just adding this. And again, maybe they should have just scaled it back to an 8-episode season. It's starting to really feel like that, which is weird because normally something like this, I want more. Give me more episodes to expand on it. But we've literally had no answers. Even with Tabitha. Tabitha's revelation last episode was still a repeat in this episode.
Yeah, and part of the issue is that filler episodes are fine. They're necessary to set up things, right? But they tend to happen in like episode 1, you want it to be big, bombastic to pull people in. Episodes 3 and 4 are fine to be filler episodes. But once you get to episode 7, 8, this is when you're supposed to be tying up all the loose threads that have been building. And the show still suffers from the same problem it had in season 1, which is that nobody communicates with each other. There's so much information that each of them have, and none of it's coalescing into anything because everybody just keeps to themselves, which is really disappointing.
And every single character is becoming annoying and a pain in the ass.
Absolutely.
Because they don't know what did. But I'm interested in this comment, Nikki. What do you mean by you don't want answers?
No, I don't. Well, first of all, the overarching big mystery of like, what is the from? What is this place? Where did it come? All of that. I never wanted that answered. I always wanted that to stay kind of ambiguous. But I just feel like I don't expect any answers. Like, it's funny to me when people are like, well, I hope that at least by the end of season 3 we get answers. We didn't get answers by the end of season 1. We didn't get answers by the end of season 2. Like, there's so much like there, right? Like right now, I know one of the big things is like the numbers in the bottle tree. And I just feel like, do you know how many conversations and events happened in season 1 that we were theorizing about and nothing ever came of it? And then season 2, it's like things happen and then we literally never come back to it. I mean, for example, how many times, like, we're on episode 7 and they're still getting produce by the river, and we still hear, like, this time, well, first it was Kenny and Jim and we heard something outside. They keep showing us or telling us this episode, we hear the little background character say, oh, there was something knocking around there and it's not we already know this. Like, they keep kind of showing the same thing with no progression. How many times did we see Fatima sick, eating rotten vet? Like, we could have really progressed that. How many times did we see Elgen sleeping, looking like a dope, looking at the dead kimono lady, and she only just now spoke to him for the first time? I think maybe last episode or episode before, when she said, help me. Yeah. But there was so much that happened. I mean, even when we first started season 1 and we're told there's never been a time when 2 cars came into town at the same time, except when that big massacre happened. And I mean, we're in season 3 and I still don't understand. Like, well, nothing really happened. Like, what was the big point of the 2 cars coming in at the same time? Or Victor measuring the trees and saying they're moving and talking about the change and the seasons and the snow. There's been so much since season 1 that I feel like things happen and we kind of just have so many things and not connect, so many loose threads. So I don't know why people are like excited and thinking we're getting anything in season 3. I don't think we're getting any answers. And I don't even care about answers. I just want to enjoy the ride because I just don't think we're going to get answers.
But I feel at this point, I'm not saying we need overall answers of what from is and even what the entities are or what's going on. But there's certain things like what's Tabitha's real connection to this? Why is Fatima feel like she's pregnant? Like there's sub stories that they could give you just a little bit, just the answers to, even to help progress the story along and keep the mystery of the overarching story of the entities alive to keep people interested into it too.
Right. And that's kind of my point. Like Elgen, for example, we're now focused on Tabitha and she had a dream as a child, just like Miranda, and she's connected. Well, when Elgen first came into town, he was connected to this place and he had a dream and he threw up all over Randall and literally nothing ever came of that. Like we've just kind of moved on from that. So that's why I'm like, there's been a ton, like we're just talking about the little subplots in season 3, but there's been a ton in season 1 that nothing has ever come of those things. I still don't know why breaking the music box had anything to do with that trance. Like we've just moved on to other things. That's why I'm like, for me, it was a frustration when I first started the show of like wanting some type of answers. Like the best example I can give is, I don't know if anyone's familiar with the Apple TV series Silo. That's also a mystery. Yep. And I think that show does what you're kind of saying, Nadia, where it answers some questions, but then it's still ended on a cliffhanger and there's still a lot you don't know, but it gives you some unraveling and some satisfying moments. I kind of feel like I've gotten into a point with From where I'm just like, they literally never answer anything.
Yeah.
Like they really never answer like literally anything at all. So I don't even care about that anymore. I've just resigned to. I just want to enjoy the ride. I just want to enjoy the story. I just want to enjoy the series. I don't even care about answers at this point.
I don't even think we need hard answers, right? Like I would like to think that the majority of us are intelligent enough to recognize the answers when we see them. Like, and I think having ambiguity is important in that it is necessary in a show like this. Kind of like you were saying, Nikki, about Silo, which I loved season 1, and I'm hyped for season 2. But they're not even giving us, writing that contains further ambiguity with some of these things, right? Like they're not going out in the forest. Where's the threat? Like I agree with what Niet said, where these nightmare creatures, they're just sort of like, all right, y'all, it's nighttime. Let's just pack it in for the night and just go to sleep. Like, we don't care. These things aren't terrifying us anymore. Like, so where's the threat? Where's the rush to actually get out of this place? Because they just seems like they're just moseying all around and not, aside from Jade, but no one's really doing anything to further progress the escaping of Fromville. In that there's these characters like Victor, who's just, always in the same motion of, I don't want to talk to anyone. I need to talk to this doll. Like my father's here, but I don't care. I don't want to talk to him either. I want to, chill in my little room that doesn't have a talisman in it. Why doesn't it have a talisman in it? How is he not affected by it? What about the woods, these villages? What about the spiders? There's so many things they have just picked up and walked away from.
Where are my
writing
big
wise.
spiders?
And it's
That's
like,
my point.
did you all forget about the stuff you created? Because we sure didn't. So when are you going back to your own writing to further this story? And again, like, I don't want, like I said, like, just here's your answers. Here's the cheat sheet, y'all. Like, here's your answers. I don't want that. Because then I think that, like, when shows do that, it's terrible. But yeah, like, they just need to give us a little bit of something, just a little bit to keep us going and the anticipation from episode to episode. And it keeps us watching. And that way, like, these poor shows, Nothing Burger episodes, derail the conversation or derailed like these seasons. Cause it sucks. Cause, like, I know all of us want to enjoy the show, and I know they probably don't want to have a Lost 2.0 on their hands, but they need to do some satisfying service to these characters and, like, allow them to have some better communication with each other, allow them to actually figure out the solutions to their problems. Because right now no one knows anything, right? Like, why is, Fatima suddenly not pregnant? Why is Randall now seeing the cicadas again, whereas Julie didn't, and she was in the car next to him, right? So why didn't she see them? Is she still hearing voices, but we don't see it? Because even though she says that she smokes weed and, like, that suppresses it, but I don't know. Like, there's just so much that is just frustrating to see at this point of the season.
This is the mystery box writing that J.J. Abrams sort of pioneered with Lost, but I felt like, at least with the Lost, there was an overarching narrative. There was an overall goal that the community was trying to achieve, and then you could have these subplots. Whereas here, I feel like the writers get together and they're like, oh, let's have Elgen have a nightmare about this place before they arrive. Oh, and let's also have him see this weird, creepy lady in a kimono dress. And, they might even ask each other, how does that connect to the overall story? Doesn't matter. We'll figure that out later. Randall will see cicadas and bugs. What does it mean? Doesn't matter. We'll figure it out later. Victor is going to go into the tunnel with his father. Is there any significance of that? Are they going to find Jasper? No. They're not going to find anything. But we'll just have that scene there. And it just keeps piling up to the point where we're not being rewarded for our time. Do you know what I mean? And, like, to your point, Nikki, one of the great things about Silo is I think it is adapted from a novel, so it has that core structure there, but it does reward you. There's some answers we don't get, like what's happening outside, but we do get a lot of other answers that were hinted at in the earlier episodes. So when we come to the end of season 1, there's a sense of resolution, and we feel as though our time hasn't been abused and wasted, and we're anticipating the next season. Whereas here, I feel like we're just being strung along with no sense of direction or purpose.
Absolutely. I completely agree. That's why I'm like, even with one thing that really annoyed me, and I don't know if I just am one of those people that kind of expect everything to mean something in a way, and not mean something like as far as any answers, but I mean something as far as, oh, is this a plot device to when we went out into the woods and what is her name? Christy hurt herself in the bear trap and hurt her ankle. And the second that Jade pulls apart the totems, I'm like, oh my God, this is good. Like they were safe the first time they stayed out here, but now that he ripped that up, they're not going to be safe. Nothing happened. We stayed out here a ton of times since he ripped that up. What was the point of finding the bear trap? What was the point of Christy's ankle getting hurt? She's just walking around limping with the mullet. Like what? I don't know. I guess to me, I'm thinking, this is some kind of device. Like, oh, why did we find the bear trap? You know, I'm thinking these things mean something, but no, it doesn't mean anything. Like you just said, it just was a way for Christy to be limping. Like literally, like there's no rhyme or reason to why she got hurt or why we found the bear trap or why we, you know, ripped apart the tote. Like I literally feel like the show is just a series of ish happens. Like things just happen. Like things just happen. That's it. They're happening. Yep. Even when the bus driver, one thing that I keep is crazy to me when the bus driver makes a comment this season about that nursery rhyme. I forgot about that. Like so many things that they have just put out, and I literally can't even remember all of it. I know the writers don't. Like I kind of feel like, and I'm not one of those people that are like, I don't really look at like behind the scenes, so I don't know like what the showrunners are saying, but I feel like they don't even know where it's going. Like they're making it up as it goes along, in my opinion. Because
what I think this
seems to correlate to anything.
What I think this show is lacking, and why all of these plot threads feel as though they're unresolved and not going anywhere, is I think this show is lacking a Bible, like a show Bible. In the 90s and early 2000s, when they came up with these fantastical and weird shows that have a Bible. So they'd write all of the lore elements, all of the mythology, and there'd be a sense of continuity, and they'd refer back to the show Bible and be like, oh, we introduced this in episode 2 of season 1. This needs to tie into this. I think this would be a good idea. But there's none of that happening. Everything is just pure randomness.
Yeah.
Definitely
I would even be happy with a major character death in this episode. I thought about it too. I mean, I know we get a secondary character, but I'm like, at least give us something. Like, at least give some consequences to whatever has been built up. You know, maybe, you know, start the engine on this. Let's ram this up. I know the writers talked about maybe making this a 5-season. I can't see them making this 5 seasons if you're not going to give anything. Just anything. Or recap any of the mysteries that you had for season 1 and 2. Again, you don't have to give away your overarching plot. Like I don't even want a massacre at this point. Just give me something just to know that I've invested so much time into this and that I know it's going somewhere.
Now, what you said about the character death, I have literally been itching for that all season 3. Now, I did say massacre though, but I said I feel like as much as I liked Father Khatri, as much as I liked T. Chin, as much as I liked the bartender, I feel like we have not had any like top tier character death. Like we need to raise the stakes. Like it's kind of like what I forgot which one of you guys said it earlier, but like there seems to be no threat. There seems to be like we're just kind of lottie-dotting through the town. And I feel like at this point we need to like kill Dewey, like how we had doing. Like this is the point where we need to raise the stakes. This is the point where Shane died. This is the point where Lori got killed. Like we need to take some of those characters who we feel like are mainstays and really make it like a Game of Thrones, like anybody can get it type of situation. Like I was like, I need Donna to die. I need Kenny to die. And I like Donna and I like Kenny, but I need some of those top characters to get killed. And it'll play into the whole, I was saying Ellis, because it'll also play into the whole, like, we want to break Boyd. Who is the only other person in this town that has any responsibility on their shoulders like Boyd? It would be Donna. That's like the kind of second in command, second person, even though Kenny was the deputy. I don't even know if he's still a deputy, child. But Donna is like a mother figure. She runs her brothel / like foster home.
What happened to that, by the way, too? That turned into another. That's not a brothel anymore either. Like,
too many deaths in that house now.
Yeah, I'm just like, and then that's something else where I'm like, I don't even want to use my little brain to feed into stuff, because when Kenny they made it a point for Kenny to say he's going to community house. I was like, oh yeah, something finna happen. That's why we made it a point for Kenny to go over there. Fatima gonna be eating them. It's gonna be a massacre up in community. No, I think, whatever. Like things are just happening. People are just going places. Julie's staying at the clinic, like. But yeah, I agree with you, Nadia. I feel like we need to raise the stakes, and we need to have like when I think about some of like my favorite shows, I don't think From has had like that jaw-dropping moment, like that synonymous moment, like that the whole fandom knows when Carol's daughter came out of that barn. If you were a Walking Dead fan, like that was a big monumental moment. The whole fandom, if you were a Walking Dead fan, knows that moment when Glenn was tied to the chair and Merle threw that walker in the room with him. Like, we had big significant moments, we had big significant deaths, and I feel like when I think about From, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't feel like there's synonymous like monumental moments in the story that the whole fandom would just be like, yes, that moment. We end on cliffhangers, but we don't have big, significant moments.
The only thing I would say is probably Tabitha being pushed out of the lighthouse, and like that to me would be a significant moment, and her going back to the real world. But again, that didn't even pay off too with her.
Yeah, I wouldn't even count that.
Yeah.
Or not being able to go to that tree in the real world and give, like, that would have been a perfect thing to give the fandom right there.
Yep.
Let her get to the tree.
What I don't understand is if they know that she got pushed through the lighthouse and that was the way that she came back to the real world, why haven't any of them gone to the lighthouse? Why haven't they done like a excursion there as a group? Like, maybe take 5 of them with Boyd leading them. Why are they just sitting back? Like, the show is so frustrating. I agree, Nikki. There should be some deaths, but I think deaths that are grounded in either that conflict with the main objectives and motivations of the characters, or that change the characters in a significant way. So for me, is it T. Chen? Her death really hit me hard because of how much I really like Kenny, or like Kenny back when he was a significant character. Like, he's lost his father, he's lost his mother. Christie's off with her new partner. He felt alone. He felt isolated. He's also the deputy, so he's trying to help Boyd keep the town together. He's also having a dynamic with Boyd where he feels slightly betrayed. There's so much going on there. Whereas I feel like if you were to have some of the supporting characters die, it wouldn't mean anything. Like, if Elgen died, you'd just be like, okay, well, he didn't really contribute very much to the story. Tilly dies at the end of this episode, but she didn't contribute anything to the story. She was just this kooky character that had this fresh perspective about life, but she wasn't driving the story forward. So when these deaths happen, and if more deaths happen, I don't think it's going to have any effect on us.
Yeah, I agree. But I would kind of disagree with T. Chen, because as much as I like T. Chen, I don't see her as significant. What did she do? She made pancakes and she ran a diner. Like, to me, that, yes, I liked her. Yes, it was effective. But in my opinion, yeah, like Elgen, Elgen is asleep at the wheel. I don't know what the hell. Elgen, that's a whole nother conversation we can have. But that's why I was like, someone like a Donna or someone like a Ellis. And to me, Ellis is useless, but that would be significant because of Boyd, like that tied to Boyd. But Donna, to me, would be that type of death that you're talking about, because to me, she's way more significant narratively for me, in my opinion, than like a T. Chen.
Yeah. So with T. Chen, I wasn't saying that she was a main character. I was just saying the way that she affected a main character in the form of Kenny. Yeah, for sure. But I agree with you. Like, we'd need a death of Boyd, Donna.
I think
but at the same time,
not Boyd.
Well, maybe
I feel like everything would fall apart.
If Boyd dies, the show's over. Let's just
I feel like Boyd can have plot armor out of this world. Like, don't kill my man. But everybody else.
Fun trivia, actually. The actor who plays Boyd, Harold Perrineau, he was in Lost as well. He was a really great character in that.
Yep.
Do you know how I found that out yet? I was on Netflix and the Lost promo came up, and I was like, holy shit, that's Boyd. Just standing right there in the promo photo for Lost. I didn't even know that.
If you like him as well, I'd check out Oz, that prison
Yes.
show. He's the narrator of that. He's fantastic in that as well.
Yeah, I never saw Lost. My mother was obsessed with Lost back in the day, but I never watched it. But I love Harold. I've been following his career since forever. He's
also
amazing.
been in Matrix 2.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he was.
That's when that was the first thing I ever saw him in, which is why I was kind of thrilled to see him in this. Obviously in Lost too, but
His
question I
daughter
have
was also in Chaos too as well. That was a Netflix show that just came out this week.
And
Not this week, but this year.
and
It
got
got
canceled.
Yeah, I know.
I have a question for everyone here in the panel and for the chat. Would you guys want to see a new threat, a new villain make an appearance? Because like I agree with what you're saying, Nikki, about the comparisons to The Walking Dead. I read a lot of Robert Kirkman's comics from The Walking Dead, so it's like obviously I know the differences and the changes from the comics to the show, which didn't like some of the changes that they had in the show, but it's like once Negan appeared, like you knew shit was about to go down. And for people that had never read the comics, like when they're all lined up on the ground there and he just starts taking Lucille to Abraham's head, to Glenn's head, sorry for spoilers, but that kind of threat was necessary and was so game changing for the show. I almost feel like we could use something like that at this point, especially if there's only going to be 5 seasons of this show. Like I feel like we almost need to see some other sort of entity or something that is attached or relative to these nightmare creatures, or even if it's a greater nightmare, right, that makes an appearance, that shows up, that like really makes them afraid. That maybe there's something else that could cause some terror that also shows up during the day. So now like they need to be fearful and aware during the day and also at night. Like something else needs to happen. Like there needs to be a switch up in this show, to bring this fright back to it, that to bring the suspense back to it. I feel like, because right now it's just like when like during the day, unless they do something stupid themselves, there's no repercussion, there's no consequences. It's just like, hey, don't get caught out at night and you're safe. Usually, it's like you go out hunting for food or answers and bottles and blah blah blah, but just make it back to town in time and you'll be safe. And you just can repeat. I don't know. It's like part of that just kind of seems so sleepy up until the end of this episode, right? Something happened during the day. Fatima freaked out and stabs Tilly, but she says, run. Why run? Alice was the only one who saw it happen. Like, I'm sure the town probably won't really get on Fatima too much because it's like maybe an accident, or I don't know how it's going to play out exactly. There might be some quarrels between the townspeople there, but I don't know. I just feel like there's
put her in the box. I think what happened in the box? Like, bring back the box.
You can't put a pregnant woman in the box though.
Well, she's not
pregnant. Put her in the box.
But the other townspeople don't know that.
Yeah.
I think that's going to create friction between Donna and Boyd, because Donna's already outright said, "Oh, okay, she's going through all of this. Well, I don't want her in community anymore. In the commune."
And she
anymore.
alluded to that earlier in the episode with the conversation. I think so. For the comparison to Walking Dead, the Walking Dead each season was really good at establishing a villain each season or a couple seasons, such as you had the governor, but in between also creating internal conflict amongst the group and creating villains with that, quote unquote. The problem here, I think, is that they try to, for the daytime, we've had in the past, people who've kind of gone off the grid, both in the town and colony house. I mean, the opening episode, you get one guy opening up for the night creatures, but I think that's where the writers have weakness, in the fact that they can't write internal conflict so well that counters the threat of nighttime. I would love, like, what happened to our cowboy? Where did he go? Our night creature, he obviously is the leader of the night creatures. Where is he in this? We've seen him in one episode and that's about it. Sleeping the entire time. Like, to me, the night creatures at this point aren't a threat to me. They're not scary as they were in season 1 or season 2.
Especially after Smiley died.
Yeah.
Agreed. Well, but part of why this episode is so dull is it is set in the day where there is no threat. And what drew me to the show is that it gave me the same feeling I had while watching 30 Days of Night. This not only are the creatures terrifying, but you get the oppressive nature of the darkness itself, the unknown, and all of the sounds and the death of people outside just makes you really scared for the characters. And you're not fearful of anything. And because all the characters are on their own journeys, there's a handful of interpersonal conflicts. We see Boyd and Christy arguing, but it's not coming from anywhere. They're just arguing for the sake of arguing. But there's no interpersonal conflict between the characters, which is at the heart of any good drama.
I liked how we've talked constantly of theories, but we haven't actually talked about the episode. As we're going through, because showing how weak of an episode this is. Yeah, I honestly, even in this episode, to me, Boyd is not Boyd. He's going off the handle on people, and he's usually the one that's most composed and put together. And I don't know if this is the writer's way of showing that he is breaking, and honestly, it's not properly done, in my opinion.
Oh, I completely disagree. I think Boyd not going off on them hard enough. I wanted him to smack fire out of that cop, and he rightfully told Christy, "Do your MFing job." I feel like they are so like ungrateful of Boyd. Now, Boyd be going a little too far. I can't remember who he was talking to, but when Boyd did that whole "my town," I'm just like, Boyd, calm the hell down, get off your high horse. Like, Boyd do be going a little over the top. Oh, yeah. And Boyd has a certain responsibility on his shoulders that he did ask for, that he did step up for that position. But who else was going to damn step up? I think they are so ungrateful. I think Boyd is too easy on them. And I wanted him to go really hard when we had that town meeting and everybody was upset when we saw Dale and you know, in the pool. I would have told Donna, you cannot cover his body. I want him to stay there and rot. Like, I don't know if it's flies in the front, but I need the flies in the. I need this to be
a sign that says "I told you so."
Yes.
A warning, or a remembrance. I mean,
like, those townspeople literally traipse around doing nothing. Do you know how many times we see them just walking up that street? And even Ellis having the nerve to say, like, he said something about Boyd need to stop sitting around worried about what's going on. Boyd hasn't sat down since season 1. I ain't never seen Boyd sit down. Like, in the arm. That his own son would have the gall to say that. I need Boyd to go around and curse everybody out. Like, he not going hard enough, in my opinion. And I don't think he's backing up. I don't think he's losing it. I think they need to show him some respect on a certain level.
100%. To your point, Nikki, part of the reason why they're so ungrateful is because he's lulled them into a false sense of security. There's no danger during the day because of all the work that he's done to make them safe. And so they're forgetting that he is the reason why the town is held together, him and Donna in particular.
Yeah, he found the talisman. And that's why I'm like, when everybody's in that meeting, like, they want to go to that tree, where the hell are y'all any other time we need to traipse off into the woods and risk our neck? Like, it's always Boyd. It's always Boyd stepping up, risking his life, risking himself for everybody else in the town. I'm just like, if y'all don't like, I disagree. I need Boyd to curse everybody out.
By the way, somebody in the comments said Harold's 61, guys.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's
looks
insane.
Good. Yeah. I would have said 40 at most, like mid 40s.
Well, that was the thing. When I was watching this show, I forgot that it was Harold. And I was like, this guy looks really familiar. And then I was like, is it the guy from Lost? No, it can't be. Because this guy looks like he's in his like early 40s, mid 40s. And then I saw it was Harold. And I was like, damn, like Black don't crack for sure.
Jesus.
It makes like, honestly though, because it's like I was trying to remember how old I was when the second Matrix came out. So was I maybe was that 04, right? 03, 04?
I was still
02 or 03. Yeah,
I was
something
still
like
in
that,
high
right?
school.
So like I was probably like 17, 18, I want to say. So you know, like he had to have been like in his maybe late 20s when he was starring in that. So you know, I figured he might be like late 40s, early 50s, or mid 50s, even like that. But damn, 61.
It's cray.
Yeah, and you're saying The Matrix. I mean, I've been seeing him in movies since the 90s. Like he definitely has age. He's been around. He's been around.
Yeah, for sure.
So in the beginning of this episode, Fatima does not want to accept the fact that she is not pregnant. She obviously feels something happening with her body. I honestly just think she's becoming a night creature. Similar to my theory last episode, I think this is just the writer's way of showing us how a night creature is created. And I think Fatima is going to be the ultimate sacrifice unless they figure out how to reverse it. Upsetting both Boyd and Ellis on it. And no offense, I'm with Christy on this. Christy should have known right off the bat about her weird cravings, and I don't even think she's told everybody about the blood or whatever the whole incident with Nikki's body. I think she's just kept it to the vegetables. And with how weird things are happening in this town, more information is better. So why not tell the person who's supposed to be looking for a child in your womb that you're experiencing weird things like this? To me, that would solidify them more in a sense believing you that there is something wrong, that something is going on with your body, if you had started off with that right off the bat.
And see, I was confused on that. Even when they first tell Ellis, then they first tell Boyd, I kept wondering, did she say anything about the blood? Like, because the only word they've been using is cravings. And I'm like, did she? I could not put it together because I just kept feeling like, and then that was the thing. I kind of agreed with Fatima when she was like, why does no one believe me? Why is no one listening to me? I was 100% in agreement when Donna said they don't need to be in community house. But I couldn't believe she said, well, not right now. I feel like we should not have let Fatima have a choice. When we said stay at the clinic, we shouldn't have let her go. I don't understand why in a place like this, when we've had the situations we've had where the From can get into people's mind, whether it was Sarah, whether it was Boyd's wife, whether it was the guy that shot Boyd when he was mad. I feel like stuff should be dire. If they're saying that the only option is either there is something growing inside of her, but it's like Boyd's worms and we just can't see it, but it's there, or there's nothing growing inside of her and it's her mind, either one of those options, we need to keep the town safe. Like I just did not understand why we let her just traipse out and do what she want to do. But I was feeling like she must didn't tell them about that blood, because why are we not forcing her? And I'm not saying like we don't have to be mean to her, we don't have to be cruel, we don't have to strap her down, but I would not let her be around other people like unsupervised. And I first did not agree with Christy. I felt like Boyd didn't want to betray the trust of like his son and Fatima. But yeah, looking at the situation we're in, we absolutely should have told Christy. I wanted them to do a full body scan. I've never been pregnant. Can you ultrasound your whole body? Like I wanted them to do like when the girl went into that machine in Prometheus. Like I needed us to look at her entire body. But I don't know if we could do that.
The problem with Christy too. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Nikki. Go ahead.
I definitely said from the very moment that it was Fatima's pregnant, I definitely said she wasn't pregnant, because all the screwing they did in community house and Fatima is the one that gets pregnant. Like, I just feel like from the beginning. But the only thing I'm not sure about, I don't know if, I feel like I'm more leaning towards Fatima is turning into a creature, but I also feel like, is she giving birth to something? Kind of in what Nick said about, do we think there's like another threat that may come? I feel like and that's another loose thread though. We were told there's something worse than the creatures. There's something else out there. There was something that dragged the tent. Like there is something else. And me and Julie talked about this yesterday. I think that forest is alive. I've been waiting for the forest to like attack somebody like Evil Dead. Like I've been waiting for it to come alive. Yeah. And I was kind of wondering, is the From trying to create like a new breed of creature that either Fatima is about to morph into or give birth to? Like I feel like there's something, or I hope there's something really major that is about to come of how we've dragged along Fatima's whole pregnancy.
If there's anyone that should be becoming a night creature, I thought it would be Randall, because I thought it was like a type of infection that would happen when you're bitten by them. And Randall was left alive, and I was just confused that he's fine now. Like there's no, what was the point of that whole scene if he's going to be fine? And going back to, is it Sarah, the one that killed her brother and a few other people? She heard voices in her head. which led her to kill a few people. And now she's back in town and nobody's monitoring her. Like,
Yeah.
we know that there's nothing happening with her and she's fine, but you'd think that under those circumstances, the community would be keeping a closer eye on her activities, considering she'd gone crazy and killed a number of them. Like, it's just so many things that are forgotten that shouldn't be.
Yeah,
And
I
like the
disagree on that
trees
one.
moving.
I love Sarah.
I am Team Sarah. The trees moving too with Victor. I agree with you, Nikki. Like there's something going on with the forests. I mean, we have spiders. We have these other settlements. Is there other things out there? There's the big arc that leads to the chained up tower. And then there's also the lighthouse on top of it. But there's no further investigation when you have all these and the bottle trees. And then the rocks with the half painted too. There's so much about the forest that is just teased in certain episodes, but they don't investigate or expand on it. I also think there's something going on with the water.
Explored the forest. Like I understand we need shelter at night, but I don't understand why we haven't just traipsed into the forest. Like I mean, like stay, like a
what also dragged Boyd and Sarah. What dragged them in season 1 in the tent? They never figured that out too. So is there other creatures out there?
That's why I agree with Nick. I think there is something. And even when we saw not Fatima, Tabitha have her little dream as a kid, which we didn't need to rehash to Jade and Jim, but she looks up at something and it's daytime, so it's not one of the night creatures. I definitely think there is something else, some type of entity. I don't know where it's at, what it's doing, and why it ain't here, but I definitely think there's something else.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree.
The only thing I was going to say about the intro was that I don't blame Boyd for saying do your effing job, because giving Christie's experience or expertise, she should have been able to probe more from both Ellis and Fatima, right? Like, are there any other weird symptoms? Have you done anything abnormal, right? Like in the thought about, well, yeah, I was tasting blood, from the gun wound, and that was what, her liver, right? It was where the shot was, like, so that's an organ, right? We all know that night creatures, are attracted to organs. And there's that weird part later on in the episode, which I know we'll get to, but that just, to me, solidified more of her turning into a creature. Like, was it eating her own organs, or was she eating organs in order to give birth to something, right? Like, is it some sort of alien face hugger effect, where it's going to burst out of her and then the host dies and then this new creature is born? Like, it could be either of those things, but I think something significant needs to happen in there. Therefore, Fatima would die to some degree, right? And there's a major character, boom, off the list. But that's all I'll say about the intro.
Yeah, I agree with you, Nick. So we move on to Victor and Jasper, right? This stupid doll.
Yeah, and Jasper and Henry, his father.
And Henry.
And that rope.
Like, at least give me the doll talking in this episode. Like, what's going on? But I can understand something. Move. Yeah. Well, turns around, something. And he's just telling this, and then it's leading to the fact that he has to tell it in Sarah's basement, which I guess I understand. We're kind of looping it back to the fact that Victor said, secrets are told in basements, intense. So I get it. I understand where they're going. But you could have done it by the end of this episode and have given us something on it. And this doll is creepy. I want this doll out of my life at this point. I hate dolls. I hate it.
Oh my God.
I do. I hate dolls. I absolutely hate them. And this one, and especially ones that look like this. I feel bad for Henry as he's trying to at least connect, and in some way, he's one of the strongest actors this season. In some way with his son, and I understand Victor, in a sense, the character that he's playing, he doesn't want to hurt his dad. He doesn't want his dad to be hurt. He just reunited. He wants to make sure that everybody's safe. He wants to take it upon himself. But damn, come on, give me something with this stupid doll. We've been trying to hunt this doll down for almost 3 episodes already now.
And that's how they did with the whole thing for me. Like, we got one episode where we saw Victor with his map, counting his steps, digging something up. Then the next episode, it was knocking on Sarah's door saying, I need to tell you a story. Then the next episode, it was, I'm like, how you just said, this could all that could have been an episode. But do we really think we're going to even get anything with Jasper? Because I mean, I don't know about anybody else. I was kind of excited with the whole, I need to tell you a story. I was like, oh my God, okay, Victor finally about to unlock his memories. We're about to get something. They literally just rehashed everything he told Tabitha. We already knew that that guy made people laugh at a time when people didn't laugh. We already knew once Jasper came along that suddenly he was there. He literally didn't tell Sarah anything that the audience didn't already know. So that's why I'm like, I don't really have high hopes about Jasper talking. Or maybe that'll be this year's cliffhanger that the season ends off of. Like Jasper will say something and then the third season will end. But do we really think we're going anywhere with Jasper?
I don't know, because there's a lot of dead ends with Victor. I mean, with the trees, and then and also the fact that I wanted to know a little bit more of why the night creatures allow him down in the caves.
Oh, I have my theory on Victor. Victor, we have that big massacre. Victor is the only person left alive. We know Victor blocks out traumatic memories. What would be more traumatic than you were the thing that got everybody killed? I think Victor is the cause of that huge massacre. Whether unintentionally or intentionally, I think it's Victor. I think that's the huge mystery that we're waiting to be unlocked with Victor. I think he is what got everybody killed.
That would be an interesting twist on the character because of how, in a sense, innocent he comes across. For him to be the source of the massacre. Interesting.
And I feel like it would fit because Sarah killed people, but Sarah wasn't evil. Sarah wasn't malicious. Sarah was just a little meek, mild, sweet, like kind of similar to Victor. Like Sarah nor Victor are the type of characters that you would expect to like do something evil or hurt people or kill people.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah, I could see that. To be honest, give me anything for fuck's sake. This is my channel. I could swear. Just give me something to it, or get this doll out of the screen. And then we have Ellis too, Elgen, why all of a sudden now, where there's been multiple people in that cellar, that we find a door behind that wardrobe, and who's the body in the corner?
More questions, Nadia, that we'll never get answers to.
And because you know what, I'm not gonna say it because I've seen the promo for it. There's a
don't tell us the promo.
I'm not gonna say anything, but I don't understand why it doesn't make any sense to just open more mystery boxes without solving a couple of them before you decide to continue with it.
Nadia, have you ever seen this show?
Yeah, I know, right?
Like that's what they do.
I know.
You say it doesn't make sense, but it is the easiest way to write something. It's much harder to write solid plot progression where previous threads are resolved in a coherent manner, to have character arcs be meaningful, and to have characters go on a journey that coincides with the plot progression. That's really difficult to do. It's much easier to just be like, this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens, and not worry about that. And that's why they're doing it. It's an easy way out.
I don't think Elgen's autistic. I think Elgen is sleep deprived, which can affect your body in certain ways. I think they've laid that out with his inability to really sleep due to the drowned lady. And I think he's just an invert. I think he's just never had friends. That's what it comes across to me.
I disagree. I think Elgen is written like a child. I think Elgen has never been laid. I think Elgen is weird.
Thought so with Julie for a second. I thought that was going somewhere.
No, someone commented on my video that Elgen is written like a 10-year-old, and that sums it up perfectly. Like Ethan feels more mature. There is something about Elgen that literally gives me adolescent. Like he is so And yeah, I don't think they've written it where he's autistic or anything. I don't know what the issue is with Elgen and why they wrote him like that. Like he literally feels like am I the only person that feels like he feels like a child?
No. The reason why he feels like a child is not just the writing, it's the performance of the actor. The actor takes so long to get his sentences across. He pauses, I don't even think the stutters are in the script, but he's like, you see him like thinking for way too long. There's no economy with the delivery that he has with his lines, and it's just frustrating to watch. And I know that they tried to pair him up with Julie. They're like, oh, this isn't working, and now they've paired Julie up with Randall, and those scenes, flow a lot better, I think.
Yeah.
How old is Randall? And why did I think Julie was like 16 and Randall was like 35? Because I was like, wait, what? Is this supposed to be a love connection?
I think Julie's 17.
Yeah,
17,
I think now she's
17 or 18, because she says that she was supposed to do her driver's license learner's permit at like 15, but they forgot that. So I'm assuming she's 18. I do think Randall is 35, but I don't think their dynamic is a romantic one. I think it's a big brother, little sister dynamic, because he's trying to teach her to drive, and
okay, it felt flirtatious.
I don't know about that. I think there's an infatuation that she has with him.
Definitely.
But I don't.
He's
but
like
I
a
think,
rebel.
I just think he thinks it's a younger sister brother relationship, similar to what I think in season 1 Ellis had with her, because of the whole. It was really creepy bringing her in with Ellis and Fatima, and I was like, where is this going? This is
I thought they were about to be swingers with Julie.
Yeah.
That was weird.
Julie wanted to kiss Fatima, and this is one of the things that infuriated me about season 1 is I thought that Julie should always have been with her family. I didn't think it was a good idea for her to go to community where there's a lot of drugs, alcohol. She's still underage, and then she's seeing this whole swinger vibe, and then she's invited into their room, and she's trying to kiss Fatima, and you get this weird sensation from Ellis where he wants to draw her, and I'm like, no, please don't do this. I'm glad they avoided it.
But
and if I'm a parent, honestly, I could care less about the drugs and the sex. Baby, there are monsters. Like when Donna was telling them that, no, baby, this is my child. I don't care where in the from. She would have had her behind at home. Like, I don't even care about the drugs. Like, baby, you can die. There are monsters. The family needs to be together. I always thought that was the strangest thing that she would even do that. But then I got to know her parents, and I completely understand.
Yeah, I was just to say how shitty her parents are.
Yeah,
parents of the year.
You recognize how shitty they are from season 1.
Yeah.
But I realized
at this point, with Elgen, I really don't even care about Elgen's storyline. I'm gonna be honest. I don't even care about Elgen and the dead kimono lady. I'm sick of, they finally are trying to do something, because at first I was just sick of always seeing Elgen sleeping. When the bird hit the window, what was Elgen doing? Sleeping. Every time I turned around, he was sleeping, trying to sleep, couldn't sleep, having a nightmare. And I'm just sick of looking at his face. He's such a big dope, and I just can't. I can't. He's such a child.
Do you think to me, he's written, I don't want to say this, I think he might be a gay character, to be honest, the way he's written a little bit to me. Just in his mannerism and stuff, he doesn't come across, and I don't mean it in a sense like, oh, that's a bad thing. I'm saying it's just the way he's an invert, and just maybe he's never gotten along with people, and maybe there's something else he's not telling about his background that could lead to it. Because to me, the relationship with him and Julie was definitely just straight platonic coming from his end.
Yeah, he's very effeminate. I mean, look at him here. He's built this device for Fatima. It looks like jewelry.
Very much into craft, which is yeah. Not saying men can't be into crafts.
No, exactly. But we're just highlighting an observation. That's all it is.
Yeah. But he doesn't give me gay. He just gives me adolescent. Like, he gives me child. Like, he gives me immature.
It's definitely a childish vibe. Like, I mean, it could have been one of those things where, maybe he grew up, with a parental figure, guardian, whatever you want to call it, that, like to yarn or something like that, just like to do arts and crafts. And that was something that, came to mind. And then here he is making this little, chandelier device, which it looks like this was something you'd hang in a crib for a baby.
It's a mobile. That's what it is. It's a mobile for a baby crib. Hi, Zach. Welcome.
Hey, Zach. He's a combination of Victor and Tabitha, because he's got the visions like Tabitha, and he's got the childlike mentality of Victor. I felt like the writers didn't really know what to do with him. Howdy, Zax.
Hello. Hey, how's it going?
What did you think of this nothing burger of an episode, Zax?
It was kind of I guess it was a bit of a nothing burger. I didn't like understand some of the characters and how they acted at all. I don't know where like when Acosta became a bratty teenager, all of a sudden, the cop, she was like, and then to threaten Boyd like that, it just she's changed overnight from at least being sorry she killed somebody to being entitled somehow to the police station, which I think it's just odd. Elgen is so boring, and he's like a big child, and I could see like he's the feminine energy from him as well, but like, I don't care about him either. Like you guys were saying, they're really dragging out this kimono thing, and Randall and Julie, I don't know what that is, because how old is she supposed to be in the show, and should that bother
18,
me? Okay.
17, 18 maybe.
18.
Okay.
But he's still probably mid-30s. Maybe
Yeah.
late
So they've
20s.
been
Yeah,
here for 3 years.
Uh,
She said she was supposed to get her learner's permit at 15, but they ended up in the from.
Oh, but she said like several times passed because her parents were preoccupied. They
okay.
were fighting, going through the divorce, and other things came in the way.
Okay.
yeah,
so that-
I don't
that
think they
gives me
celebrate
weird-
birthdays.
kind of gross vibes. And then also like with Randall, these are like I guess some minor things, but he must know at this point that they're not actually cicadas, like they're not really there, and that it's on his mind, but he still keeps playing it out as if he's being attacked by
They're
these
real.
bugs. Yeah, like pull over, dude. Just pull over. I'm having a bit of a minute here with these fake bugs. Pull over and it's fine. Instead, he's going to risk everyone's life trying to fight these non-existent bugs while he's driving. It's an odd thing to do, and it's not the first. If that was the first time that had happened, then I could get it. But he's used to this by now, or should at least be expecting something like that to happen. Shouldn't be surprised. And why is he not telling people?
Yeah.
There's zero communication in this show between the characters. It's one of the most aggravating things. Like you'd think that to solve, the problems, that communication is probably one of the most important things that only happens between maybe one or two characters at the most here. I mean, freaking Christy says it in the beginning of the episode. Well, that would have been useful to know that information beforehand. It's like, yes, thank you for pointing that out, Christy, with your terrible haircut. It's like Jake, like, oh, you saw
I'm
this.
getting that haircut. I'm getting it.
I'm
getting it.
No.
No,
Don't do it.
I'm just doing it. I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
I'm doing it. I'm just kidding.
Yes.
I'll wear a wig.
Don't you dare.
I think the show would be so interesting if, like, you see with Tabitha, her husband, and my favorite character, although I forget his name, this guy on the left here with the beard, Jade. They're solving a particular problem, which is her memories. You got Victor, who has a piece of the puzzle. You've got Fatima's cravings. You've got Randall's visions. All of these things. I think the show would be so interesting if they all just came together over dinner, maybe a couple of drinks, and discussed everything that they know, and then they work together as a community to overcome this issue. But they don't. They're all in their separate bubbles, and it's just infuriating to watch.
Welcome, Julie.
I am so sorry.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine. I was more worried about you than anything. I'm glad you could join us.
I took a nap after that 9-hour live I did last night.
Oh my god.
Oh.
And I slept through my alarm. I am so sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
Totally fine.
Welcome.
What did you think of this nothing burger of an episode as well?
Nothing burger. I was saying, I actually used that same phrase last night. Yeah, there were a lot of nothing burgers. And yeah, it was frustrating. It was my least favorite episode of the season. I still, I didn't hate it or anything. It's just, it frustrated me because there were a lot of teases. Like there were little bits of things that I wanted more of, like Victor and the dummy. I wanted more of that. He showed up at Sarah's house very briefly. Little things like that. And the Elgen stuff. I wanted more, it was frustrating, but I think it was just, it's setting up a lot that it's going to lead to, I think, an explosive final 3 episodes, but it was just all set up, really.
I agree on that. Yep. Setup and a nothing burger for the most part.
I just
it really
think
was.
there's so much to do in the show they're not doing that there's no filler. There should not be a Nothing Burger episode ever, even if it's setting things up. If you can pay off some other things while you're setting up some things for the finale or the end of the season or whatever, and they're not really doing that. And you guys talked about it earlier, but I do find it frustrating, and I know it's not a nitpick for me anymore. If Walking Dead, you could see early on that they had like a functioning society where people had jobs and things to do. You didn't have to know who they were. There were still extras, lots of them, but they were doing something. And in this show, it seems like nobody's doing anything. And they had structure, episode 1, season 1, of what people were doing. They had jobs, they had things to do. They had that whole, you go outside in what was it called? If you screw up, you get put in the box.
The box.
The box, yeah.
So there's a consequence that had been in place for if you fuck up, you have to go die in the box at night. And as horrific as that is, it's like, okay, I could see why they would do that with someone, because you can't have someone in jail forever here. So but I think it was it Niad or early on the show was talking about Sarah, and like I do like Sarah, I'm on Team Sarah as well. But yeah, you would think that people would be worried about what she's up to now, where she's doing, they'd be keeping an eye on her at least, but nobody does. And so when we're supposed to have Sarah as being a threat, because we know that could happen, it takes me out of it when no one else in the show even considers that to be a possibility.
Yeah.
So,
They don't write daytime horror very well in this internal conflict between, or have consequences. You've set up those consequences in season 1. There are multiple people who should have been in that box throughout this entire 3 seasons now, and we haven't seen an additional person put in there.
Yeah,
but maybe they'll put the cop in there, because I think she should go.
Oh, please. Please.
She might end up there. We'll see.
I literally would. She's the one who needs to get tied to a tree. Like, I would literally put a cherry on top of her head, a apple in her mouth. Like, here you go, monsters.
Right.
To the point of nobody being put in the box. This is my frustration is if you're writing something and you set up a set of rules, they need to be followed. So one is if somebody hurts the community or leads to the death of someone or kills someone in the community, they go in the box. Another one that was established in season 1 was you pick whether you're staying in town or in the commune, and you can't change it. And what do we have? We've had Julie go back to her family. We've had Kenny now go from the town to the commune. There's no consistency.
Right.
Yeah. And that's interesting, because in season 1, it's almost set as, okay, there are nighttime creatures, but there's also a divide amongst people right? There's the colony house and the town. So you would think they would be able to write, in a sense, friction between the two groups. And I think they've poorly done that in the last 3 seasons.
Yeah.
It feel like it's all melded together now, because didn't we have, correct me if I'm wrong, because my memory isn't great, but didn't we have like a whole ceremony when we came into town of like picking where you would stay? Like, we literally got everybody together, and it felt like the colony house people didn't usually like commune with the town people, except when we would do this whole ceremony to decide where you stay. And I'm like, okay, the people came in on the bus. Did they have a ceremony and pick where to stay? The cop came in. Did she have a ceremony and pick where to stay? And then speaking of like the rules, I was confused when Boyd told her, he'll give her the bullets when she proved. I thought no one was allowed to have a gun. I could have sworn the only people like that was a town rule. Boyd has a gun. Kenny has a gun because he's the deputy, and we let Victor. Victor just Victor. But I could have sworn people were not allowed to have guns. We took Randall's gun. Why would we tell her she could get her gun,
or show her where the gun and the ammo is on top?
Oh, that made me so mad.
If anybody should get a gun, it's Randall. He's been attacked by the creatures. He's shown a lot of restraint. He's also grown as a character. He's no longer the selfish, impulsive person that he was before. He's a bit more restrained. He's calmer. And considering the frustration and anger he has towards Boyd, he hasn't attacked him. He hasn't gone off at him. He's sort of just going on with his life. So instead of the cop getting the gun, I think Randall should be getting his weapons.
Yep. I was just thinking that.
That's what I think is going on with the writing. I think they took what they thought Randall would be, the off the collar kind of individual, and used that writing for the cop, and it just doesn't land for me, because there's no reason that she went from being sorry that she killed somebody the night before to being this like crazy erratic person who like, to me, if I ended up in From, I would be listening to the people who have lived there for months, years, and understand what's going on, instead of like, oh yeah, no, I'll be the one to solve this. I need my gun. It makes no sense, and I think that's the writer's choice on that one.
And even in like what Zach said earlier, like for me as I was watching, and I think I said this to Julie yesterday, like just in how you write a character, for me, it was nonsensical, because we get a weird, I felt like the show is very weirdly edited, but we see the cop at the grave, which I presumably assumed was Nikki's grave. She goes to the grave. We have like a 5-second scene of that. We cut to Kenny in the diner, and then all of a sudden she bursts into the diner. Why is no one asking these questions? Wait a minute, ma'am, but you were just at Nikki's grave, which I would think means you're remorseful. How did that lead you to come in here and say, why is no one asking questions, when you literally fresh over the tree, so you don't know what questions people are asking? And then that leads you to go to Boyd and demand your gun. Why do you even need a gun? Like, literally, a gun is only useful against human beings. So why are you so gung-ho to get the gun? But I just feel like it didn't make any sense to me in general with how the character has acted in general since she's been introduced, but just in this episode, because why did you go by Nikki's grave just to go demand your gun? I don't know, that didn't make any, like, I don't understand the character motivation, like that it doesn't make sense to me.
Neither do the writers, Nikki. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Boyd is right in
writing.
taking away her gun too.
Yes.
In the real world, if a cop shoots somebody and kills somebody, your gun is taken away from you for a couple of days, just during the investigation stuff. So this is standard procedures that she should realize happens in the real world. Obviously, okay, she should be going with it. But yeah, I think she's just a really poorly written add-on. I hope she's gone.
It's worse than that too, Nadia, because we didn't get the scene where she had her gun taken. I don't remember. If I missed it, I missed it. But like, we didn't.
No,
have
there was
that,
nothing.
Yeah. So there's no conflict there. So we're dealing with a resolution of conflict that we never saw, because that would be where the initial pushback would have been. No, you can't have my gun. No. Right. Then you establish, like, yes, I can have your gun and you can't have your gun. And these are the rules for that. Not she gives up her gun, no problem, to Boyd, which we don't see. And then all of a sudden the next day she's super pissed about it. And she's being a bratty teenager. We didn't get why that happened.
She's a mole.
Yeah, bratty teenager. Exactly. That's what it felt like, that scene where she got in his face. Like, I don't understand. Like Nadia was saying, that 180 turn from being sorry one day, to like all of a sudden she is, demanding her gun, rifling through Boyd's stuff.
Right.
He lives there. That's his home. She just barges in there, rifles through his stuff, gets in his face, gets all sassy. Like, I don't understand what is going on here. Like, why?
They killed off one annoying character, so they had to implement another annoying character for us to hate now. So here's a rookie cop who doesn't know shit.
At least Dale had funny one-liners.
Yeah, Dale was hilarious. I loved Dale. Like, I know he was a
I'm
jerk.
talking about the woman that she shot.
Oh, Nikki.
Nikki.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, like she kills the character
This is
that was annoying.
This is
and
what you
becomes
get,
the
Zax.
annoying character.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
This
you
is what
asked
we
for it,
get.
Zax. This is what you get.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just poorly written. It's bad writing. I mean, like, even for someone that is a rookie cop, like, you should know, you're fresh out of the academy, right? Like, Boyd even says, like, what, 2-3 days, something like that, right? Like, you're on duty. She didn't know what the hell she was going on. She shoots the wrong person. She should be realizing that, okay, my weapon is ineffective here. What can I do to be effective? And she goes about it all the wrong way. So it even just speaks to her as a person. She's just a shitty person too. Like, you go to the person who does have a gun, and you should know this as a cop, that, hey, maybe I should be a little bit more respectful to this guy, because if I want my gun back for whatever reason, maybe I should just, try to communicate with them, again, but be more level-headed. And she's not. So she just comes off being a bitch at that point too. And it's like, man, she doesn't deserve the bullets. She doesn't deserve the gun. They're useless. I think for Boyd to give any weapon back, it should be Randall. And that's a way to repair the relationship with Randall that could be a bigger threat to the society there.
Yeah,
What if he kills himself?
Oh, yeah.
Boyd?
Randall. Randall, what if he sees those cicadas
and shoots them?
a gun and shoots them or shoots himself? Like, to me, that's the only people that should have a gun in this town is Boyd and whoever his deputy is, and that's it. Because it doesn't help
Randall
you with
a gun.
What if he names Randall the new deputy?
No, hell no.
No, he's not stable, and I don't think Boyd would be able to trust him. To be honest, it's just how much of a backstab with the last thing that happened between them two. But Zach,
it up a little bit.
Yeah. I just want to show this like this one scene. I'm not going to play it, don't worry. So I'll jump around. But look at all the people in the background. It drives me nuts. Who are these people? Who are they? What were they doing before this? And like, where did they go after?
This is just bodies to set up for whatever massacre is going to happen at the end of this season.
I guess, but like, look at this. There's people surrounding all of the.
And where did they come from, by the way? I know there was a bunch of people in Colony House in the season 1, but it wasn't like this many people.
No.
They would be running out of room.
They were in the hotel. That's not there anymore.
Right.
No, because where did that hotel go?
Yeah. I count like 15 or 16 people in the background of these shots. Like, what's going on?
And all have
it
really
bothers
clean
me.
Clothes. Really clean
No,
clothes.
I'm with Zach. I actually get actively annoyed anytime we randomly see the extras walking up and down the street or in the background. They're such nothing characters. I'm just like, what are y'all doing? Like, y'all got stuck here and y'all are just relying on Boyd to get you out. Like, no one's doing anything. No one has a purpose. No one has a job. No one it's so annoying. I hate seeing those extras in the background.
Yeah, and every once in a while they throw one of the extras a line, and it's like it's usually a stupid line too that makes no sense. Like in this particular scene, there was an extra who literally said,
something.
"Help! Can you help him?
Somebody,
go get
the jackhammer that's in the shed."
Why? What? You all were up against Boyd in the town meeting. Why are you relying on him to help him? Why aren't any of you jumping down there to help him?
Nadia, this is why I said Boyd doesn't go hard enough. He needs to curse all them out, because I wish you would treat me like you treated me and then say, help them. The way
I would be, if I was Boyd, I'd be like, I'm going on vacation for a week. You guys are all on your own.
I really want Boyd to pull a Rick Grimes and say, you think you can survive without me? Go ahead.
Yeah,
we had that moment after the farmhouse when Rick was like, oh, you think you would have made it this far without me? Like, he needs to just say, King Kong ain't got nothing on me, and say, you know what? I'm about to hang out somewhere else. Y'all try to survive. And when I come back, let's see how many people still alive.
100%.
Yeah. He has to be more like Shane from Walking Dead, really. And, make decisions and put bullets in people if you have to.
See, thank you. Finally, Zach, somebody who gets it. Yes, that's what I want Boyd to just be so like when the Costa, you know what? Y'all not gonna make me call that later. When the cop, because she don't even deserve a name. When the cop came into that sheriff's office, you know how in Friday the 13th that white girl just threw herself through the window? I literally would have tossed her through that window. Like, I wanted Boyd to smack her in the face. I want Boyd to just be so ruthless with these people, because they have some nerve with the way they treat. Even when Christy said something about, oh, now you want to stand on principle, but that pissed me off. And I said, smack Christy. Yes, you should have told her the information, but I didn't like that whole, oh, now you want to stand on something. But I don't like how they treating Boyd. I don't like it at all.
Her attitude, I didn't understand her attitude. Like, that wasn't like her at all to be like that. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah, the way that all of these people are treating Boyd, it makes zero sense. They rely on basically Daddy Boyd to solve all their problems, and then when things don't go the way that they want, everyone it just turns on him and blames him for everything. And I'd like to see any one of them step up and do everything he's done and risk their neck for everyone else.
What if the way to break Boyd is to actually break everybody else in the town? Because everybody seems to be off their game. Everybody seems to be more angry. Everybody seems to have some issue with someone. Everybody just seems to not be the same character as season 1 and 2 portrays them to be. So what if the way to break him is just to break everybody else? And at the end of the day, he's just basically on his own. He cannot save these people because they're going to destroy themselves.
I say that'd be the best thing for Boyd. Because you know how they tell you if you try and save somebody who drowned, they'll pull you down. Boyd don't need to let this town pull him down. Boyd need to just go out, survive on his own. F this town. I'm sorry. F the town and everybody in it, and F you and your kids. Like F everybody.
And what they did too is they had they set up this tension in season 1 where like everything is life or death. Every night we might not make it through. And they put that in place the stakes wise because they kill the kid almost immediately, right? A child dies and we see their bodies, and that's messed up. You don't expect that. So you're like, okay, no punches pulled. Everyone's very serious all the time. Everything has to get done before nightfall, all of that. And it's just like completely gone now. There's no tension at all, except for people are being dumb. We get pissed at them for not talking to each other. And I think like they really should go back to, this should be life or death.
But that thing I was saying earlier before you hopped on, Zax, the night creatures are no longer a threat to me. They don't feel intimidating. Yes, the opening was pretty good with, them placing that trap, but then where has Mr. Cowboy been this whole time? Like even with the scene with Randall and right. them ripping his face apart in a sense, not like, okay, it didn't feel like there was many consequences with dealing with them, where they used to have to like dodge them. And now it just feels like they are creatures that you are able to overcome at this point. There is not really a threat to them. They're able to work around them very easily.
Yeah.
And speaking of Randall, do we think there was even a point to the whole we get to keep Randall? It doesn't seem like anything has even come of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
That's
Nothing
true.
apparent. And he got like a scratch on his face.
Yeah.
I mean, scars are cool, but it's creepy you're hanging out with an 18-year-old.
Yeah.
Right? You're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was creepy.
The way that Jim with his hot head like tossed Victor out of the diner when he was just talking to Ethan.
Yeah.
I want to see what he do when he see his daughter giving hard eyes to Randall, and they traipsing off into the woods together.
She was flirting hard with him, right? She was flirting with him. Yeah. I got that.
I thought they were both being flirty.
They were.
Oh, yeah, that was creepy. He's like 30 years old. This is a 16-year-old girl, and like her parents are just off doing whatever, and she's left to her own devices. Come on, like parents of the year once again, like cruising around with a 30-year-old man. Yeah, that's not okay.
He put her in a van, an actual van.
Yeah.
Especially after what she dealt with in last season too. You would think her parents would be on top of it, like watching her, making sure things are all right. But that leads to this, where we have a scene where Tabitha has to go see the rocks in her dream, and it just rehashes what we've already known in the last episode. Like there's nothing new given here at all. I thought maybe with Jade there that something would be irrelevant and he would be like, oh, this makes sense because of this. It's just nothing. Absolutely nothing here. We don't even know who's scuffling around outside. To be honest, one of them should have been sitting outside at one night, just watching, just to see who's there, and just keep the door open and you run back in if you got to.
Yeah.
Or open a window.
Yeah.
Like make a window out of one of these things.
Yeah. And when they mentioned the banging around at the cabins again, and this time it was just exposition too. It's like, what is going on here? Like this is the third reference to scuffling, banging around at the cabins. And it's like, I don't understand. It is just rehashing what's already happened. And it was extremely frustrating. They featured the cabins on the poster this season. I really thought that it was going to be a bigger focal point and not just set up all the way through. Now we're going into episode 8, and there's been nothing remotely exciting happening there except Jade's visions. But like other than that, what is going on? What is this new threat out here? And I don't want to hear about any more knocking at the cabins. Like, give us.
I don't even care about Tabitha anymore. I could give two shits that she's had dreams of this places because it has literally led to nowhere. Like you have rehashed the same dream about this. Give us something. Maybe tell us what has jumped on this. And the theory, I personally, I think she's just dreaming of a little girl who's there. I don't think that's actually Tabitha as a little girl. But give me something with this place. But I think the writers have too much on their plate. And I think Niet was right earlier. I don't think they have a Bible for this show at all. So they're just kind of throwing things to the wall to see what would stick.
Yep.
But I feel like that's all this show does. It does a lot of rehashing. How many times have we seen them scallywag kids saying "and cooey"? Like, we literally don't get any type of progression. We don't get anything new. I feel like we do that a lot with this show.
I say sacrifice Jim. Put him out there to see what would be. Both of them don't want to be parents, obviously. They don't
want to be parents. They don't want to be married. They don't want to be brunettes. They don't want anything. Just oh God.
Just put him out there.
And I was confused. Was I the only person confused by his reaction when he saw what the hell? I was like, wait, why is he being so dramatic? Because they're out here. I was just confused. Why did he have to try and talk her out of thinking she dreamed of this place? Like, who cares? Like, why do you even need to talk her out of that?
At this point, all the craziness that's happened, that's the one thing you're not going to believe your wife on.
Oh my God.
Right, yeah.
Is it just me, or is Jim taking a massive backseat this season? Where I think the previous season, him and Boyd were trying to make like a tower and communicate, and he discovers somebody telling him to go back to his house and find where his wife is. And now he's just sort of just wandering around like many of the other characters who we thought were significant.
Also, the fact that in Lost as well, right? You had a lot of characters in Lost as well, and I think that was one of the issues that happens towards the end of the series, where a lot of these characters just had crappy arcs, that became less interesting. I mean, that's why I think there definitely needs to be full episodes that focus on characters one at a time, or like a few at a time. And I mean, we've seen shows like Game of Thrones do this early on in their series, where you might not see a character for an entire episode. Like, you might not see Daenerys Targaryen for an entire episode, and that was okay. You know why? Right. Because you actually got to focus on the other characters that are important to the overall plot. And that way, next season or next episode, you knew that, okay, we're going to see more Daenerys in this one, and we won't see, Jon Snow in this episode, right? Like, there needs to be that sort of writing in this show. Like, you know what? We're not going to see a lot of Jim in this episode, but next week we'll see a lot of Jim and whoever else that he might be with. Might be Tabitha, might be Jade, it might be Boyd, whoever, but like, there's not a good divide in this season in particular, and I do think there needs to be some offing for these main characters. And I think this show might be afraid to do that, and I don't think that's the right way to do it. I don't think that's a good way to go about making the show feel special in a way. Like, when you lose a main character, and it makes you attach yourself to other characters, because those are the ones that you only have left. I mean, you have so many right now. There's probably well over a dozen characters. Like, start knocking off a quarter of that, or a third of those characters. Like, there needs to be a massive event. So if there's a fourth season, whatever characters are left, you can make those characters a prime focal point, and then start kind of fleshing more things out. Because right now it's like, oh, Jim, I forgot he was alive because I haven't seen him, or he said something stupid to his wife and then was off picking up vegetables. Like, whoop-de-fucking-do. Like, that doesn't do anything for the whole story. Like, it's just boring.
And where are the phone calls from his dead son too? Like, why haven't we circled back to that as well and put a bow on it?
And I think with what you're saying, it makes a lot of sense, because for me, I don't know if anyone else feels this way. I feel like the show feels so oddly edited and choppy, and I think it's because of that problem. Like, one thing that really bugged me was, why did we need a 4-second scene of the bus driver saying, "I want to talk to you about opening a diner"? Then we just cut. Like, it's so weird and strange to me. Like, it's like the show doesn't flow well, because it feels like we get like a quick scene, it cuts, we go to someone else, and it just feels very odd. So maybe that would be a good way to just not show, especially because you're showing people that are doing nothing. Like you said, Jim is definitely, I've never liked Jim, but you're right. At least he was like active and like, what was it? Writing the questions on the wall, trying to build the tower, and like, now I feel like he's just doing nothing. So why even, you can not show those characters that really aren't doing anything at all. Like he's kind of just there. He's kind of just existing. He'll ask some stupid question, say some stupid thing, like you said, but he's not active right now to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a case of the writers not knowing what to do with certain characters after season 2. Like, to be honest, Jim should be tied to the hip with Jade. If they are two smart people, not saying Jim's smarter than Jade, but if he's built roller coasters and he's got this mechanical mind, then he should be attached to Jade's hip on that and them trying to figure it out together. Instead, all we get all we get is him arguing with Tabitha. That's literally the only thing we get throughout this entire season, almost, of just him arguing with them.
Would you agree that the ending of season 2, that's when we got the busload of new characters, right? Do you think that sort of fractured the focus of the writers? Because end of season 1, yeah. Because season 1 was spectacular because there were so few characters. We had a lot of time with each of them. They were all doing something meaningful. And then you get this busload of like 20 characters. And the only two that have any significance on the plot are Randall to a minor extent and Christie's girlfriend. But they were only significant for a handful of episodes. There was literally no point bringing that busload in. And the only reason they did it was because the previous episode, I think, they killed off so many characters. There was like a massacre. And the writers, their focus is completely fractured. They don't know who these new characters are. They don't know how they're going to serve the story. As someone who's writing right now, like the characters have to serve a purpose. They either are progressing the story, are tying into the themes, or they're useless. And if they're useless, I'll cut the character out. There's no point having them in there.
Yeah, they just did, and they didn't know how to create characters that actually resonate emotionally. Like no one really cares about anyone from the bus. Now, if you ask most fans of the show, no one cares that much at all. Like it was frustrating, to see more people added to the show, and they don't know, like they don't have enough screen time for the ones that we really want to see. They don't know what to do with a lot of these people, and I wish they would just get rid of a whole bunch of them so we wouldn't have to have these useless scenes popping in. Like, why did they even give Bacta that tiny little bit of screen time? It was completely pointless. They just wanted to like throw her a quick scene, like, oh, we gotta feature Bacta somewhere. Let's just show her opening up the diner. Okay, it was just pointless.
And I'd rather have more Bacta. A lot with her this season. I had someone in the comment on my video mad at me because I said, why did we need her to get on the bus and ask Boyd what he was doing and say he reminded her of her sister? Oh, that's going to mean something. Her sister's probably... I'm like, no, it literally didn't mean anything. Like, they keep just giving her random 2-second to 7-second scenes that I'm like, why are you even here? Like, put her back in the background. And I really feel like, for me, I personally cannot think of one character that was introduced that is actually useful in a real way, because even when we talk about Marielle, I remember being excited because I was like, okay, no one else has had a loved one, someone they know, your mailman, your 4th grade teacher. Nobody has had anyone they know come into this town except Christy and Marielle. But that didn't really mean anything. I don't know why the From chose her fiance but didn't choose anybody else's someone they know. Like, I don't care about anybody at all that was added. I really can't think of one person where I'm like, I care. I would hate for them to leave. They're really adding something. I like them. And I feel like this show really suffers from not knowing how to write likable characters. Like, even adding the cop. Like, why do we have to make her so over the top? And I'm fine with, we want to question Boyd's authority, or we want someone to go head to head with Boyd. All that is fine. But why is she going about things in the most annoying, obnoxious way?
You already have that though with Randall, right? Like Randall is that person. Like she is irrelevant. Right. She's forced to be in the story, and she just needs to be removed.
That's a perfect word. Forced. Yes.
Well, Randall's conflict with Boyd came from an organic place because of who his character is. Her conflict with Boyd just comes out of nowhere because, as Nikki was saying, one minute she's at like the cemetery looking at the body and you're thinking she's going to go in and maybe apologize to Boyd. Not she's in there trying to find her gun. Like, what?
Yeah.
Around.
With Randall too, like the tension came from Randall wanted to do stuff. He was trying to figure out what was going, actively trying to figure things out, and so like that. So Boyd's trying to keep everyone kind of down and from dying, and this guy's just going off and doing weird shit. And so from the very beginning there was conflict there because Randall says, "I don't have to listen to you," which he doesn't really. And so that did make sense. And they're both good actors actually. But the other thing I want to say about Boyd before we move on is, I found that like this season, they took the wrong lesson from us complaining about season 2, because now Boyd has to be in all these scenes with all these other characters who we don't like to have us keep watching the scene, because he just stands there to have people tell him things now. And then they leave and then someone else comes and tells him stuff. And he's not doing anything anymore. Like he's just there so other people can give him exposition. And he's great and I love him, but why not put some effort into these other characters so he doesn't have to be in all of their scenes? Because like, last season there was so much cringe when he wasn't around, and so now they're doing this, and you're kind of almost wasting him. I would say he should be trying to catch a monster still. He forgot about that.
Right.
Yeah, what happened to that?
Right. Where did that go? And there were 2 episodes in a row, and I felt like they were really wasting Boyd. And the last one and the one before that, I don't understand that, because like he used to be the one taking action, and there was, it was really centered around him, as it should be. And now, it's irritating what's going on. And as far as Acosta here in the diner, I felt like they were trying to make her like the next Jade, like a female Jade, because this directly paralleled Jade's scenes with Kenny from season 1. Like literally, like they almost used the same exact lines and everything. She comes in and she's asking all these questions. The message is the same. Like, what are you people doing? Why aren't you questioning all of this stuff? Jade walked into the bar in season 1 and he's like, look at all you people just sitting around drinking. What is going on here? Why aren't you asking questions and trying to figure this out? And they explained to him, like, no, people have asked all these questions and eventually it just led nowhere. So they gave up. But with her, the difference is Acosta, I don't see her having the same redeeming qualities that Jade ultimately had, because we see immediately after this, like instead of calming down after having this conversation with Kenny, instead of going off and trying to like figure things out, investigate things the way Jade did, she just goes in and just flips out and has this tantrum to Boyd, demanding her gun, which she has no business having after she just killed somebody. And she's a new person in this town, still adjusting to the place anyway. She shouldn't have a gun. Nobody should have a gun except Boyd and Kenny. I don't know why they did it like this. I guess they want to kind of parallel Jade's scenes, but this is just showing how, it's just underscoring how unlikable she is compared to Jade. When you compare the two like this, it's frustrating.
That's how I feel with Jade, Randall, and the cop, because all 3 of them are kind of the a-hole characters. But I feel like for me, Jade is more of a likable a-hole character. Like even when he first came into town and he was like riding that bike around, and like I was kind of enjoying Jade when he got into town, even if he's being arrogant, even if he's being like a jerk, even if he's barging into people's house, there's still something about him. And I don't know if it's just the actor's portrayal. Like there's something that I like about him. There's something that I like seeing. Like I like him in the scene. But I couldn't stand around. Like Randall I was so mad he didn't die when those monsters had him. But he's actually more tolerable since he got attacked. I'm like, thank you, creatures, for attacking him, because he's actually kind of been a little more tolerable. But I feel like if you have like that a-hole character, I need something else so that I can actually enjoy the scenes they're in. And when I say enjoy, I don't even mean like kind of like a villain or a bad guy. They can do horrible things and you may not be on their side, but they're a pivotal part of the story and you enjoy them as a part of the story. I don't enjoy this cop as a part of the story in the slightest. It kind of reminds me of, I don't know why The Walking Dead is like fresh on my mind, but like the Merle character, he was like racist. He was completely evil, but I loved Merle. Like there was something about him that even though he was a bad guy, even though he was a jerk, even though he was an a-hole, he served a great purpose in the story, and you enjoyed when he was in the scenes. I just wanted to stab my eyeballs out with Acosta in her scene. I literally cannot. And I was just looking like a fool defending her. I was just defending her last week. Like, oh, she came into town. Everyone's going to freak out. And no.
I did too.
I hate this.
The biggest difference, like you pointed out that they're all assholes, and I completely agree. You've got Acosta, you've got Randall, and you've got Jade. The difference being between the three of them, two things. One is that Jade was frustrated with how everybody was just going with the flow, and he wanted to solve the mystery. And he's continued to try and do that in different ways. So I appreciate that. But the biggest difference from a character perspective between the three of them is that Jade has a bit of humility. He is an asshole, but he also has a sensitivity to him that's missing from the other two. Because when he goes off on people, he'll realize he's being a dickhead, and he'll correct himself. He'll apologize, and he'll retreat a little bit. Whereas these people are assholes for no reason. At least Acosta is. I have no idea what her character is supposed to be. And did anybody else get the impression when she was right up in Boyd's face that they were going to make out? Because she got really close to him. No?
No.
I was hoping he was gonna...
That would have been hilarious.
I would have been out. That would have been the scene that I would have been like, you know what? I'm done.
Plot twist.
I'm done. Yeah.
Because you see that often in like film and TV where two people are like yelling at each other, and then the writers sort of interpret that as sexual tension. There was no sexual tension building, and I just thought, well, are they going to get them to kiss? Because this is random as hell.
She kind of looks like his wife, though. I will say that she does look like Abby, and I thought this from Whitney was interesting, that writing with that huge writer strike that we had. So I wonder if that had affected the scripts for this in some way. Because when they had that writer strike back in the day, completely destroyed Heroes.
Destroyed Lost.
Yeah.
It did destroy those shows, but the biggest difference between the writer strike that we had like last year and this is that there's been a lot of problems with the show present since season 1 that haven't been rectified. So that's why I'd probably say that the writer strike probably had not that much to do with a lot of the issues that the show has. It's been prevalent throughout.
I think the only
other great written shows right now.
Yeah, I think the only major thing that I probably affected is the weather, because they ended up having to start filming in winter, and they weren't anticipating that. They normally film before that, and yes, the seasons were already changing, and that was written into season 2, but they weren't planning on having it change that much so quickly. So that's why we had this strange situation this season, I think, where there was all this excitement and build up over, oh no, it's snowing now. How harsh are the conditions going to be? And then boom, like in this episode, it's raining. Where's the snow? Like what happened? So I think they had to just go with whatever they could do because of the season change that they weren't anticipating as a result of the strike.
Interesting.
You'll leave the smarty pants.
Hold on. I know. All right, I'm bringing Acosta back up. The scene where she decides to go through Boyd's stuff and confront. I have a question for everybody on the panel. Does anybody feel this episode helped with any theories that are out there? Like, I feel nothing was discovered new nor added to any of the additional theories that might be out there.
There was one thing that actually I kind of I'm definitely incorporating into my working theory, which is I agree with I mean I personally think that it's reincarnation going on here, and a lot of other people have too, and I agree with that. But like I think that Jade's dialogue, the only thing I took that was really useful was that Jade's dialogue saying maybe Aristotle was wrong, and we don't decide our own fate, like it's that whole idea of fate versus free will. And maybe Tabitha was always meant to end up here, and there's nothing she could have done to avoid it. And I completely agree with that. It would make sense if they are reincarnated, then she had no she had no way to avoid coming here, and like every other version of her before her. So that personally helped with my theory. But other than that, I can't really think of anything that there's really nothing else that really added to any other theory that I can think of.
Yeah, I agree. Anybody else?
I just put in the chat a bit, but like cops don't actually come home and then live in their uniforms, and I don't understand like why she would still be in this, and it doesn't make any sense character wise for any kind of a cop to do that. You'd want to at this point now, since you've shot somebody already and they don't have a gun, don't wear the rest of it. Try to fit in, get some other clothes, and lay low for a bit. Why do you have to have your radio with you? Like what? Her name tag is nothing has changed. She's still just for days in this same uniform, and like it destroys logic. And I think it's so that we remember she was the cop. I mean, I swear to God, I think that's what it is. It's for the audience. Oh, she's the cop. But this is not how a person would act.
Well, there's a couple of things. Number one, if she took her cop uniform off and she were in regular clothes, she would blend into all the worthless, irrelevant background figures.
That's true.
Right.
And then I do think they're like, hey guys, remember this is the annoying cop that came in and shot Nikki, and Boyd took her gun, so she's all mad and annoying now. So I think it's stupid. I think it's lazy writing.
That's for fun, Jenna.
What's ironic is that she was, while we all disagreed with her decision to handcuff Tabitha, she did that because she wasn't aware of the circumstances. I mean, who would expect that there'd be actual monsters in a town and that everybody was going to be in danger? But in a weird way, she was more competent when she shot Nikki than she is now from a writing perspective. And I think that the reason she's wearing her uniform is because that's just how the writers envision her. There's no creativity when it comes to the complexity of her character. The writers are just like, cop lady one, Yeah.
I think that's it. I would like to see her make her own T-shirt that says, "I killed Nikki, and all I got was this dumb T-shirt."
This is your fault, Zax. I blame you for Acosta. Okay,
it is my fault.
Your hatred for Nikki caused this character to pop up.
Manifested it.
Yes, manifested.
Wait,
that's what
was it fate? Just kidding.
Look at him telling her to get the fuck out. I would tell her I would throw her out.
Oh,
Physically throw her out. But I think she has how can I say this nicely? Like a authority type of thing. I think that's why she's in her uniform. That's why she wants her gun. I had that conversation with one of the subs because her being so like having the issue and the huge monumental thing being like, I have to have this gun. Like she's acting like this is a kidney that she needs to survive. Like the way she's going so hard, I think it's about, and even her showing her badge to Boyd and being like, I'm a real cop. That's so dumb, but I think it all plays into this authority that she wants. Like she's fresh out of the academy. So with that uniform, with that gun, with that badge, she feels like it gives her a certain authority, even in the from. And I think she really wants that authority.
Yeah.
Yeah, and let's hope that it means she's going to turn into a monster and she'll be the cop monster. So they all look like they're wearing uniforms anyway or costumes. So she's all ready for that.
Interesting. I didn't think of that because you're right. That's an interesting parallel to the other nightmare monsters that they all are. There's a milkman. There's a cheerleader, a jock. I think there was a jock at one point, a cowboy. Yep. They're all stereotypical type of characters. Right. Interesting. And she would be the cop. Well, good riddance, to be honest, in my opinion. I you know what? I don't like Tabitha and Jim, but I don't like Tabitha and Jim, and that grew for me. Like it wasn't right off the bat. To me, it's just they're just the way they are. Their characters, to be honest, just the chemistry. I just don't like them. Right off the bat, I could give two shits about this woman making it out. I don't care. Like, throw her to the nightmare creatures.
Seriously,
put her in the box.
Yeah, just get rid of her. I and I was, and like Nikki, I was willing to give her the benefit of the doubt. I actually, I could sympathize. I didn't like her, but I could sympathize with her panic when she got here, getting somebody killed. She looked really devastated at that. When she walked into Colony House, like her face was just absolutely horrified when she saw what she had done. it seemed like she was really remorseful. She came to Boyd actually trying to help in good faith the next day. And now this just 180 turn made zero sense. And it's almost like, he yelled at her the first time when she was offering a suggestion. It's almost like, now she's getting sassy and like lashing out because of that, like a child. Like, I don't know what happened. And it was irrational for her to completely do that 180. And I don't understand what they're doing with that. I really don't.
I also don't understand why he would show her exactly where the fucking bullets are.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why he showed her that. I don't know why he handed her an empty gun. And I don't know if I'm just ignorant, because I was like, well, cops don't have an extra clip. Like, she ain't got like a backup clip in all of that she's wearing. Don't they have a taser and a baton and you don't have an extra clip? Like, I just don't understand why he did that at all. Like, oh God. And I honestly, and I love Boyd so much, but he has irked me this entire season, even just starting off running out there after the cows. Like, and it's kind of like, I can't remember who said it earlier, like, he really has nothing to do this season besides just stand there and let people talk to him. Like, Boyd has just been so on my nerves this season. Outside of, I was happy when he went off on like Ellis and a few of the people by the pool, but that scene really paralleled how dumb I felt he was when it came to running after the cows. I don't know why he opened up that, like, moved the portrait, showed her that, even handed her even the empty gun. Like, none of it made any sense.
He just gave up probably his best hiding spot right in front of her. I was like, what are you doing? Why didn't you show her where you hide the gun?
It was a dumb
And
card
after
to
she
reveal.
got in your face and acted like that, why would you give her anything? I wouldn't give her a crumb.
Nope. Yeah.
No.
Same.
I would have locked her up. I would honestly have just locked her up. Because she's obviously a threat to both the town and Colony House with how erratic she is. So she needs to be locked up until she calms her ass down and just, I get it. Maybe it's post stress. Like, maybe she's got PTSD because of the whole incident, being dropped into this, but she needs to, in a sense, just be put somewhere where people can keep an eye on her, away from other people, until she calms down.
I completely agree.
Or give her one of her bullets back. Just one.
For herself.
Yeah. Like, real. I mean, I wouldn't mind that approach. I know they're not going to do that, but people who are threatening everyone in the community at this time, and you're Boyd, like, you can be judge, jury, and executioner if you want. I'm okay with
I agree. I like the way your mind works, Zax.
It's the safety of the others. Like, you understand, you have so many other NPCs hanging out that she is a threat to everybody.
That's right.
So one of the last things I want to talk about before we wrap up is obviously the ending, which I think is, I understand Elgen found that room and the body and stuff that led to nothing. So I really don't care to talk about that part, but interesting that our mole, which I still think she's a mole, gets stabbed here when she's trying to comfort Fatima and tells her to run. What do we think that is?
What is an NPC? Is that nerd things?
It's
it's a non-player character. They need coding.
Oh,
that's what they call it in games and video games.
I knew it was a nerd thing. But why y'all won't get? I mean, Tilly done gave her blood, and y'all still won't say she's a mole. Tilly is not evil. She done gave her blood to try to prove to y'all that she was never a mole. The From doesn't need a mole. I think Tilly was just a baddie, nice old lady. And I wish this went the way I thought it would go. I thought Fatima was going to just take a bite out of her. We spent the episode with Fatima has been very out of character, cursing at people, being mad, being kind of a bit aggressive, losing it a bit, and talking about the cravings being stronger. I thought she was going to just take a bite out of Tilly, and I think that would have been more exciting. Yep. But
agreed.
I think Tilly's last words of run, I think she was still just being a nice old lady. Like, run, get away from my body so nobody knows you stabbed me and the town won't turn against you. I like Tilly.
Yep.
I still think she's sus.
Yes, Julie!
Her dying breath. She was sus to her dying breath. I don't.
I can't get behind it now. I really can't. I think in some cases I've lost faith in these like theories just because, like, why did she say run? Where's she going to run to? We all know she's not going to run. Guarantee you next episode she's going to get questioned. There's going to be a lot of friction. There's going to be a lot of arguing. There's going to be sides taken. There's going to be a divide amongst the entire community. And Tilly's just going to be, buried in that cemetery like everyone else is, So I don't know. Like I would love to think that now, but the more we go along, the less I actually feel like they know what they're doing with these characters. Like it would have been useful to have her as a mole, but I don't think she is. Like I don't think Donna's a mole either. Like if Donna kills herself, how is that going to theorize that she's a mole? It doesn't. It falls flat on its face. And it sucks because I think those could be useful items to be like, wait, there are people on the outside that want to have someone on the inside to understand what's going on while we're sleeping. But I feel like that's too good of an excuse to write it that way.
Yeah, I was thinking the same. That initially when I saw this, I was like, okay, wow, they were just trolling us the whole time, and there was actually nothing unusual about her. I never thought that she was a literal mole going out and reporting to some big bad entity like, oh, here's what everyone's doing this week. Here's your weekly report. No, like I don't think the Fromville entity big bad needs a mole. It's omniscient. It's omniscient. It knows what everyone is doing and hears them at all times, day or night. But what I think is that she might have been somehow tied in with the evil entity, like tapped into it. Maybe it was manipulating or controlling her, working through her kind of. Because when I thought back on this, after this happened, I thought about it from the beginning with Fatima's pregnancy. She was just nonstop in her face, telling her everything's going to be all right, that this is all normal. She sensed that Fatima was pregnant, and we just saw on an ultrasound she's not. There's been they didn't say there was any sign of some kind of a miscarriage. And so why did she say she's pregnant? She's like, I have 4 kids and 7 grandkids. I just know. Okay. And then she spent this whole season following her around, telling her everything's fine, even after seeing her eating rotten vegetables that's clearly not normal and not okay. It's not the same as doing some weird shit like eating like licking eggshells. Like it's not okay. It's not normal. Like no. And she was doing the same with Ellis. Everything's going to be fine. And to her dying breath, I still think that was sus. You're not alone. Like it's okay. Okay. Well, I don't know. I just think that she was kind of an agent of the evil entity trying to convince her everything's fine when there's clearly something seriously wrong with her. And so I still think she's somehow tied to it. Maybe it was unconscious and she wasn't deliberately doing anything. And this entity was just manipulating her, working through her, some kind of mind control. Either way, I think she's sus still.
So sus. Completely sus.
I think it was an old lady that was experiencing cancer and dying slowly that just found one person to relate to and that, would equally allow her to, get close with. Like she couldn't even confine to her husband, but she'll confine to this old lady, right. it just, that's all it is. To me, that's all it'll ever be. Like, I don't know. It just, And I think that the big, mind fuck is just her killing Tilly. That's the shock of it all. That Fatima snaps and kills the one person that she could kind of get close to in this instance. And that's going to set off a chain reaction. So we're going to have some drama at this point, which is, I think, the only thing that's kind of keeping this show running at this point. But I don't know. Like, Julia, I would love for you to be right, because at least it's entertaining at that point. But all I see here is just two people that found a way to get close to each other in a community that is just not very relative to each other. Like that's who her friend became. Like I think everyone in this town has a favorite person or two, and Fatima was that favorite person to Tilly here.
I completely agree. And it just reminds me of when people get mad at me when they are like have certain theories and they're just like, it has to mean something. No, Tilly was there and she, was at the clinic. And why did she just so happen to, say out loud when Marielle was there that she had the drug? And why was Tilly dancing in the rain? And like the way that people get so mad at me when they're dissecting every little moment and thing, and they're like, it has to mean, well, now Tilly's dead. And like all of that stuff, unless she's not really dead and she's going to come back and I'll eat my words. But literally, I think it's exactly what you said. Like everything we were dissecting about why did she have the tarot cards and she wasn't, phased when the bird went. Now she's dead. Like it was just a baddie, kooky old lady who her and Fatima just had a little bond, and she was just trying to be there for them and comfort them and say the proverbial things that everybody says, which is you're going to be okay. It's going to be fine. And not like literally nothing came of all the kooky baddie stuff that everyone was reading so much into. Unless, like I said, I don't know, she's going to come back next episode.
I don't know. I mean, did nothing come of it? She's caused a lot of trouble for Fatima now. Like by being in her face when Fatima was demanding, leave me alone, leave me alone. Tilly would not leave her alone. Fatima didn't really welcome Tilly's interference. I mean, Tilly barged into her situation, and Fatima was like, she was not really into the tarot thing at all. She thought it was being disrespectful of her situation. Like, this is serious. What, you're just messing around with tarot cards? Tilly just forced her way into this whole storyline, and right up to this point Fatima was saying, go away, leave me alone. And now look what's happened. Like, Fatima's in serious trouble because Tilly wouldn't listen and just leave her alone. Fatima didn't really want her in her business. So I don't know. I'm still suspicious. I'm not married to the theory that she's still sus, but I still think that there's something not right about the whole thing. I
don't think she forced herself in. Like, in this last moment, yeah, Fatima said, leave me alone. But I don't think she forced herself in with Fatima in the slightest. Fatima did not have to tell that old lady she was eating rotten vegetables. Like, Fatima didn't have to tell that old lady all the stuff that she chose to tell her. Like, I don't see that as Tilly forcing it. Like, Fatima made it. Yeah, Tilly was there. Yeah, Tilly kept popping up.
She's still fed. She's still a bowl. 100%.
It's just so weird. Like, you don't tell the nurse, the person that could, that it's going to help you with your pregnancy, but you'll tell this old lady. It makes no sense.
That's why I say Tilly didn't.
Old lady was snooping. She was, watching her, and she saw her eat the vegetables, and then she's like knocking on her door, and Fatima didn't answer it at first. She's knocking on the door, and then like she says some random weird thing. I used to lick eggshells, so Fatima opens the door, and she didn't want the tarot reading either. Tilly has pushed her way into each of these situations. Fatima wasn't welcoming it. Yeah, that's how I feel.
And yet, you're not actually writing right now, are you not? Like, you're putting together, you're writing a book?
Yeah, I've written a book, gotten it, the final draft back from the publishing editor, and just working with Zach actually to do the front and back cover, and hopefully we'll have that out by December or January. I have no idea where this obsession with Tilly being a mole is coming from. It's taken me by surprise.
Why would you have written a character? If you wrote a character like this, why would you have written this character? That's what I wanted to ask you.
Well, I don't know if if I had written a character like Tilly that's a little bit mystical, I would have explained her mysticality as being something to do with the fact that she's not long of this earth. She has cancer. She's about to die. She's in a situation where she's not going to be able to see her kids, her grandkids. And the reason she attached herself to Fatima is because Fatima is about to have a child. And as someone who's gone through that with through her children and her grandkids, she feels as though she has a lot of experience and wisdom that she could impart. And the mysticism is her way of gaining control of the unknown. And I think that's absolutely fine. I agree with Nikki and Nick in that I don't think Tilly has forced herself on Fatima. She has been quite strong-willed in wanting to help Fatima. I agree with that, but Fatima has also made the decision to let her in. And she's given her all the information that she didn't tell. I think she told her before she told Ellis, didn't she? Right. Yep. So that's a decision that she made on her own. This scene, I saw it coming from a mile away because Fatima has been acting really wild and inconsistent. That's not sort of tied to what we know her to be. I can forgive that, considering she's going through a very similar situation that Boyd did with the worms, which were making him go a little bit crazy. But Tilly is not the reason that she killed her. She killed her because Fatima is changing as a person. I think we can all agree, whether she's becoming a night creature or some sort of other malevolent host for the thing, the omniscient entity that's controlling from. She's going through a transformation. So this is sort of inevitable. And it's quite tragic that the one person, as you guys have said, that's been trying to help her is the one that dies. But at the same time, Tilly is the one person that was always at peace with dying. So it's a little bit bittersweet.
As the keyboard goes off as soon as
You
he
know,
finished it.
The other thing I thought about this scene, because I watched it a couple times, was she didn't have to grab the like, I forget what kind of gardening tool that is, but
shears.
Shears, yes, yeah. Like, she didn't have to. I mean, it was clear as day. You're like, oh shit, there's shears there that could be, you know, used as a weapon, and sure enough, it is. But like, that's why I think she is turning into some sort of you know, demon or like monster, or something is going to either use her to produce a creature, or she's going to become a creature. But I think that's what compelled her. So it's almost like the opposite, like, of what may have possessed Tilly. I think is now, you know, that whatever that entity is possessing or has possessed Fatima instead, and that's what caused her to grab the weapon and then boom. Because I mean, it's like, you know, how many times have we may have argued with someone, like, that's not like instinctual, right? You're not going to grab a weapon and turn and just go gah, like, you know, that's the dumbest thing.
If you don't have sisters, you don't understand. That. Okay.
I do. I just, you know, but you know, I mean, I guess I was raised properly, but yeah, I know.
What's this?
Damn.
I listen. I mean, I definitely picked on my sister, but obviously I went too far as a kid sometimes, and I got my ass whooped. So I mean, you know, strong parenting, I guess, at that point. But yeah, I don't know. It's like there's even amongst her, you know, craziness that she's been experiencing, and I get it. She's under extreme duress. She's not sleeping. She's not eating accordingly, obviously. But you know, what would possess her to actually grab those shears and strike the nearest thing that is trying to help her? Something that is negative, something that is evil, something that is, you know, again, possessive in a way that is not boding well for Fatima's overall being. So, and I think in Tilly's last words of advice, it's run, like, get out of here, because I think Tilly knew, like, you're about to be in a terrible world of pain because of what you're going to experience with this community. And that's the only thing that she could think of, was just run, find some other place to go, find a way to get out of what you're about to be thrown into because of this decision that you made. And she's not going to run. We all know that. So
it's a testament to Tilly's character that in her dying breath, the last thing that she does is give Fatima advice, the person who's just killed her, right?
Yeah. So where's she going to go now for advice?
She's still a fed.
You're stuck on
Fatima's going to start talking to the trees as Tilly will be reincarnated.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's
And
no one like her.
I think that I think something definitely possessed her in that moment to do that. That I think it's whatever entity she's harboring. I'm team entity. I don't think she's turning into a monster. I think that all along I've believed she's harboring some kind of entity, and it didn't show up on the ultrasound because it's not possible for it to show up. It's not. It's something it's just not visible there. It's some otherworldly entity that's possessing her, maybe some new evil, or maybe it's a nightmare creature that's going to be spawned from her. And it was so crazy to me because I compared this directly to, Dale's scene with Ellis. And with that, it was clear that it was a mistake. He was holding the knife in his hand in season 2. And when he turned, Ellis was just right there. And the knife just, boom, went right into Ellis's side. In this case, you could see her, pick up the thing and turn, plunge it. It lands directly in Tilly's heart, like boom, like right on target. And she looked immediately shocked by what she had done. Like she was not in control of her actions at all. And it was just like what she said earlier. I'm not eating garbage because I'm afraid. It's making me. It's making me. The it being whatever is inside of her, and it just made her do this too.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't realize I was muting because I still said fed. But yes. I feel that my theory of next episode is Fatima is actually going to go on the run and take it in a literal sense. That she doesn't want to deal with the consequences because of earlier with the conversation of Donna's like, she's got to go. So I really honestly think she's going to go on the run, which I think is going to lead to more nothing burgers. But yes, I can find that scene, Nikki. Give me 1 second.
Yeah. Maybe she'll go live in one of those huts.
I mean, in a sense, now they have a place where they can send people to isolate them from the town and colony house, in a sense, to exile them. They could utilize that.
Nowhere box, basically. Rip.
Yeah.
Or they could just never reference Tilly again, and that could be it. Like, they just forgot.
Yeah, I think after episode 8, we might not hear her mentioned. I mean, definitely after season 3. I don't think she gets mentioned after season 3. Yeah. So means to an end, right?
I guess it's the way to make us not ask things like, well, finish the tarot. Like, let's see what happens with that. It's more, but it's all over now. Those mysteries can never be solved. So well done, writers.
Right.
I'm trying to find the scene where her stomach had incave on itself earlier in the episode. I'm just trying to see where.
That was crazy. That was
Let's confirm to me she was becoming a night creature.
Exactly. Like the way it looked like her ribs were caving in, and that looked like, I mean, all of her, all the major organs are there, right? And that's usually whenever we see a human being eaten, or their chest is kind of ripped open, but like their stomach is all gone. Like it's like everything is just completely emptied at that point. So again, like that's like where the morphing it was starting to take place, and I hope we see it again. Like it can't be the last time we see that this occur.
Right. Yeah, that was crazy. And it did remind me also of the hollowed out chest cavity. Yeah, the stomach cavity. Yeah, absolutely. I was like, at that moment when like this was happening, it kind of, it's like it's designed to make you think like, oh, she's suddenly going to look 9 months pregnant, like, oh, it's like accelerated pregnancy time. But no, like instead it caved in. But yeah, I think that's because it's not a baby. There's some entity inside of her body. That's what I think.
I was almost expecting to see like a face manifest in the skin.
Push out through the skin. Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well.
Because I was like, oh, please, because that would have been kind of awesome to see, but we didn't get that. And I still think it was a pivotal moment for her character in this scene, but I think that would have just taken this to like the next level, and it been like would have been a really like oh crap moment,
I think she's being, in a sense, dried out from the inside. Whatever is taking a hold of her is just, in a sense, sucking the life out of her. It's not till she actually eats the rotten vegetables that she's not as thin or frail as she is initially in the first half of the season. So I think this is just something that's just, in the sense, just eating the life out of her internally and just making her into a night creature, or whatever might be the next evolution of night creatures.
Did she tell anyone about the eating people thing?
No.
Nope.
Okay.
Not that we're aware of.
But Nikki, you wanted me to pull this up. I assume you have some points on this one.
I did?
Yeah. Didn't you say in the chat? Oh, it was Nick.
Yeah.
Nikki, whatever. Nick, you had points. Sorry.
I'm done took over my mind because I don't even remember saying that.
It's Friday. We're all tired.
Does anybody think it's odd that when you compare the hallucinations that she has to Boyd's, at least with Boyd's and the worms in his arm, other people could see that, whereas with hers, like she's telling Ellis to look at her stomach and there's nothing there. It only really appears to her in the same way that Randall's cicadas only appear to him. Makes me think that it's psychological more than anything else. There is something malevolent happening within her, but it's not actually happening to her body. Like this is amazing practical or CGI effects. I don't know, or whether she's a contortionist. This looks insane. But I get the feeling that other people can't see it for a reason.
Yeah, I agree.
I think this is real. I think Ellis walked in and couldn't see it. And I saw some people saying like it really wasn't happening. It was just in her head. I don't think it was just in her head. I think it is actually happening. I think it reminds me of Jim answering that phone. No one else can hear that phone ring except for Jim when the phone is for him. When his kids walked out of the kitchen, they were literally right there. They would have heard the phone ring, but they didn't. And it reminds me of when Randall said, "What is real?" And that's how I feel about the From. I think it is real, but I think we're looking at real in a certain way. Like real is either it happened or it didn't. It's in their mind or it's not. It's a hallucination or it's actually happening. And I don't think it's that cut and dry. I think this reminds me of that phone ringing. This is actually happening. The phone is ringing. Her body is sucking in like that. Like Nadia said, I agree. I think it's like hollowing her out and doing something to her. That's why her body didn't want the IV. That's why her body doesn't want regular food. But I think there's something with the From where like it's your reality is actually happening, but it's kind of like a singular reality because other people can't see or experience it, like the cicadas, like the phone call ringing, like the things that Jade sees. Like it's real, it's there, it's in front of you, it's happening, but it's only being displayed for you. It's being displayed for who the From wants it for. Just like when Ethan finally answers the phone, they wanted Ethan for that moment, so that happens for him.
I can see that.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's why she's the only person that could see this. Yeah, definitely. And it's, they try to gaslight her in this episode and they say, maybe you're having a psychosomatic pregnancy. And it's crazy to me that they tell her that because like, are you kidding me? Like
From
everything that you've seen in the show. And they literally mention Boyd's worms like 2 or 3 times in this episode. So have you learned nothing from that? You clearly remember that clearly. So how can you not see that this is really happening? And maybe Ellis wouldn't have been able to see it, but it's still real, just like the cicada effects were real.
It's so odd to me how the people in this town are not literally the most open-minded people imaginable. Like I literally feel like if I'm in the From, you can walk up to me and tell me that Elvis is outside planning something and I'm going to believe you. Like, I just feel like they should be able to say anything. And the response should be, oh my God, really? Like not, well, are you sure? And maybe it really wasn't. And I'm just like, I can't fathom. And like you said, when they bring up Boyd's worms, if I remember correctly, they didn't believe Boyd.
No, they didn't.
They didn't.
Like,
Because they learned nothing
until later. Yeah.
They learned nothing.
There's so many things that have happened here that they should just be like, okay, Fatima, we may not be able to see it, but we believe you that there's something happening to you. Because you've got Tabitha going through the chapel or the tower, ending up in the real world and coming back with Henry. You've got Boyd's worms and all the stuff with the liver from the From creatures that they were able to use as a weapon. You've got the visions coming in. I don't understand why they don't believe her. Like it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't.
It's the problem of communication in this town, and I think it's a writer's issue where they've written themselves in a corner, so they don't know how to properly write themselves out with these characters with certain situations. And I think it's just them. Oh well, it would move the story along more if they just didn't believe them, or it would cause more tension. But that doesn't explain the last 2 seasons that you've put in front of us.
No.
Right. It just kind of reminds me of like the age-old like horror trope of like not believing the protagonist. Like it's so tired. They don't
Yes.
believe anyone, and it makes no. You're in the town, you can't freaking leave. Like I just don't understand why we have to go through this every time something happens. Like no matter the situation, no matter. And we talk about people not having communication, but we do have those moments where like it'll be 2 people together saying something and the other person just doesn't believe them. Like it irks me so bad.
I'm with I think it's Nikisha's theory that the water in this town is doing something to people, because I have for how many issues this town has, everybody just seems to drink sink water without even giving a second thought. Making teas, making alcohol with it and stuff, just doesn't even give it a second thought that where is this water coming from? Just as much as the focus in the last season of like, where do the phone lines go? Or where does electricity go? Where's your clean water you're supposedly drinking goes? So
I feel that way about everything. Like I was when they were like doing drugs, like, wait a minute. So there's drugs grown here? Like,
yeah, where's the weed that Julie's like
we're just gonna pull it up and just take it and everything, even the animals, like eating when they're. I don't trust anything here. It kind of reminds me of like if you're kidnapped by someone and you try to kind of smell the food and wonder if they put something in it. Yeah, I think that's a good theory. I always think that when they're smoking weed or doing anything, I'm just like, why are we trusting anything given to us here?
Yeah, or even the food. But I say we give final thoughts on the episode. Go around. Nikki, I'll let you start.
My final thoughts are just really no thoughts. Just like how dense everyone in the show seems to be, I'm just going to just be as dense as them, and I'll just wait and see what unfolds. I have no thoughts. Just like they're not thinking, I'm not thinking.
I love it. Nick, how about you?
Yeah, this was just just an overall like fumble of an episode. I hope things kick back into gear in 8 and a little over 24 hours. So hopefully we'll be singing some different tunes next Friday. But I'd probably give this like a 5 out of 10 on a score, unfortunately.
Like IMDb. Sax.
Another step back for this show. For me, I think I'd probably give it probably a 4.5 or a 5. This episode, I officially looked forward more to talking to you guys and listening to you guys talk about this stuff on your own channels than I did about the show. And that was like, oh, I wonder what they're going to think about this. And that's what kept me engaged as opposed to the actual show itself.
Fair enough. Niet.
Yeah, I feel like the show in the current state that it's in, it takes 1 step forward and 2 steps back. And like Sax, I'd probably give this a 4 to 4.5. A lot of the scenes are just very frustrating because the character actions aren't stemming from motivations or goals that we've seen them pursue in previous episodes. And they're heading into the mystery box territory of Lost in every J.J. Abrams project, to be honest. And I'm worried that the writers don't know what they're doing. And as we get closer to the end of the season, it's just going to be the same.
Right on. Julie.
As you know, I'm one of the crazies with this show, so I'm going to be more charitable. I'm going to be more charitable with it. I'm going to be more, accepting of it because, there were a lot of things that frustrated me. There were choppy scenes, and there were a lot of issues with the writing, and they have had issues with the writing before. In season 2, there were a lot of issues. I do think that it planted some seeds that are definitely going to come to fruition. It did set up the next episode. I definitely think it's gonna improve a great deal in episode 8. I would probably give it just for the seeds that it did plant. I'd give it a 6.5 out of 10, which is my lowest of the season. It's my least favorite of the season, but there were little things to appreciate. I loved Victor's scene, even though it was extremely brief, with the dummy, and Fatima's scene with the incredible special effects, the stomach caving in. The ending I thought was fantastic. I was personally shocked that they did that. So, you know, like there were a lot of issues and frustrations, like rehashed scenes, exposition that didn't need to be there, pointless scenes, choppy things. But yeah, there were still things to appreciate for me. So I'm excited to see what they're going to do in episode 8, because I think this is going to ramp up really fast.
I could care two shits about this episode. Like, could not care. I like, no insult to anybody on this panel, Julia, not insult to you of liking this, but this is an episode I could skip. I could easily feel like I could skip this episode, just get the highlights, and then we're good to go. Tilly is still a fed to me. I think it was poorly directed. I think we should have isolated down. If you wanted to tell the Fatima story, that should have been the focus entirely of this episode. Not Acosta, not Victor. Like, choose a character that you are developing out and having issues with, and then next episode come back to maybe Victor, or come back to Donna's issue, depression issue. Like, stop putting so much in these episodes and planning these things and then rehashing things like Tabitha again. That's the whole scene did not need to happen in this episode. It could have just been carried over to maybe episode 8. You could have just given us a break from the Matthews family. So I am not happy with the show, but I will still continue to watch it because I love Harold so much as Boyd, and him and Jade really do carry the show on their backs for both of this. So
absolutely.
Nikki, what do you have going on next?
What do I have going on next? Next I will be covering Silo. I covered season 1, and I actually a few days ago dropped a everything you need to know recap of season 1 if you either need a refresher or just want a quick update to start off with season 2. And I am also I'm delirious right now and I can't think, but there's some really good shows coming between November and January that I will be following on the channel, and as well as all of the horror and movies that I cover. And I have my KillerCon horror panel where I met we met talking about Scream, but we've done KillerCon together a few times. Yes. So that will be coming as well. And since I talk so much horror, I am also now implementing a action series, because if there's anything I love that could rival horror, it would be the action genre. And that starts tomorrow with 10 underrated action gems that I am getting into. So that is a night of horror, night with a K, across all platforms. And thank you so much, Nadia, for having me. And thank you to the panelists for the conversation. This was really fun. And it was more fun to talk to y'all about than to actually watch that episode.
Very true.
Agreed.
And everybody's channel is linked in the description below. Please go subscribe to everyone. Everyone does fantastic content. Nick, what do you have going on next?
Well, in about an hour and 15 minutes, I will be on Badger's channel for the first time with Gooch, Nerd Wars, and Tech Rat. So that'll be fun. And then I'm going to try and find some time over the weekend to make some videos. I've got a couple in mind. I just need to be able to find the damn time to do it. Then leading up to Monday night for the Penguin season finale, which I cannot wait for. And yeah, I agree, Nikki. I am definitely looking forward to Silo season 2. I loved season 1. I definitely wanted to cover that. As far as other shows that I want to either follow, yes, I'll be posting more leg day videos on X if you want some good workout content. And Yellowstone season 5 part 2, I'm going to cover that, and Dune Prophecy. So those are my plans for November.
Nice. Zax, what about you? What do you have going on?
Circles of Jerks tomorrow night at 10 p.m. Central. We have so much cringe to go through, so it's going to be a fun night. And then week after is the second ever Clam Jam, which is the same idea, but with the ladies. And that was Nadia's idea. And first one went really well, so doing a second, make them monthly. Let's do this. Otherwise, I'm lots of places. Just follow me on Twitter, maybe. Yeah, do that. Now.
By
Turn now.
By the way, that was my husband's idea, not mine. For the clam jam.
Yeah, I mean, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nia,
women can't have ideas, so that's what it was. I was trying to help you.
Yeah, what's going on, man?
Hey, Nadia, thank you so much for having me on. This was an absolute blast. Next up, I've got movie nights with Niat tomorrow. We're covering Predator 2, which is going to be a lot of fun. Then I'll be on Late Night with the Gooch the following day, and we'll be working on a video covering Heretic, which you and I both saw last night. And it was fantastic, so definitely looking forward to that.
Very cool.
And Predator 2 is better than Predator 1. Let's just put that out there.
Oh, yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. I should have warned you, Niet. I should have warned you. But to Nikki's defense, Predator 2 is also the first Predator that she saw.
Yeah.
As a kid.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Julie.
It's still not better.
Julie, what are you taking a break, Julie? What's going on?
No, I wish I could take a break. I'm exhausted, but yeah, I'm just gonna keep plugging on as From ramps up with the final 3 episodes. Still focusing most of my attention on From, doing my 2 live streams Wednesday and Thursday nights at 10:30 Eastern PM, of course. And it's funny because even though this was my least favorite episode of the season, I wound up doing my 2 longest lives I've ever done. So there's still a lot. Like, even though I didn't spend most of it talking with people about the episode, like we were just talking about the overall mystery. So I mean, I'm still locked in, clearly. And so I'm going to continue with that. I'm still working on finishing my breakdown for this episode. My breakdown video should be up by tomorrow, and then I'll have my Discord watch party when the episode drops at midnight, and the link to my Discord is on my channel in my description. And after this, I'm covering Silo as well. Also, I'm excited about Silo. It's coming back soon. Yeah.
Very cool. As for myself, I dropped my Heretic review today, so go check that out. That's on the channel. Very short review. The first half is spoiler free, so if you don't want any spoilers, it is timestamped. Monday, we're back on Inside All Day for Penguin, and I'm also going to be on MMM talking interview with the vampire, and Tuesday's Horror Tuesday. But I am working on a deep dive in the Hellboy Crooked Man video because I love that comic so much. So I wanted to take my time with it. So that should be out soon enough. And the last thing I want to say is rest in peace, Tony Todd. He passed away today.
What?
The news while he was on stream. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
So yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah. I'm very sad about it. What an icon in horror. Both in Final Destination, Candyman, Night of the Living Dead, the Scream TV show, so many things. The Crow, even though I hate The Crow. So many iconic roles. So I am really sad to hear that, and my thoughts and prayers go out to his family at this time. So young. But until next time, come back. I hate to end that on a low note, but until next time, come back next Friday for the next episode of From. We're going to deep dive into episode 8. And until next time, everybody, stay spooky, y'all. Have a good one.
Bye.
See ya.
Cheers.